to every year's hearing of the cultural agencies of government. While I don't regard my work in the Senate for almost 18 years now as work because I enjoy it thoroughly, whether it is about agriculture, education, whichever topic, but when it is climate and environment on one hand and culture on the other, those are two equally exciting, educational, and inspiring learnings for me all the time. And so I don't look at this as finance work that that could be difficult or problematic on a Thursday morning. So I thank the cultural agencies present here today. Some, as I said, are old faces whom I see all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. That means it's much work that we collaborate on together. And I'm referring to Director Jeremy Barnes. Where's Anna? Yeah. Out of town, okay. Who's working on us for the Department of Culture bill and the amendments to the National Museum charter. Yes. Of course, Chair Rio Almario, who also helped draft, I think, the Department of Culture bill, and you gave your comments on that. Apart from the finance hearing of your agencies today, I would request you, if you've not yet submitted your comments, amendments, if any, to the Department of Culture measure. And I hope that it's moving in the House. I have not checked who's hearing it. And there are new faces, of course, some last year, like Lisa, and some old new faces like Nick, who just made me remember, Nick, maybe President Nick can just mention, he made me remember when I first met him, and it was like ages ago. Director Nick, lagi mo lang on the record.
That was...
Pinuntahan pa ako sa opisina ko. Sabi ko, sige na nga, approve na ang budget ng CCP. Palagi naman ako nag-support dyan eh. Pinaalala pa niya, hindi ba? Oh, sige na.
1983, the good senator was a newscaster, a field journalist of Channel 9, and she was interviewing me because we opened the Film Center with the Film Academy of the Philippines' first Academy Award.
Okay. That view from my office, those who have entered my office, and the view is the film center, and of course the garden of the GSIS for which where we are renting. So I didn't realize that at film center, yes, that I was a young journalist, maybe as young as Lisa Dino, in 1983. Martial law pa nun eh, Cherio, yes. And I was with RPN 9. And, you know, one of the many na may hawak ng mikropono na sinusubo sa bibig ni Director Nick, na hindi ko alam kung anong tinanong ko sa kanya noon. Anyway, and of course, Chris was my classmate in UP, no, batchmate, classmate. Yes, yes. An old face because every year we're also here in the hearing. The others are quite new. Yes, I'd like to get to know you and your agencies better and your needs. And I just hope that all agencies are utilizing the funds we give them. Sige. Who's the executive director of... you're still representing the Filipino language. Yes, and NCCA chair. Yes. Okay. Very good. Maybe, can you recite a poetry? Yes. I will, now that you've said it, pwede po kayong magbasa o kung memoryado po nyo o uwido lang. Sige na nga, isang 30 segundos na poetry. What's poetry in Tagalog? Tula. Magtula po kayo. Ayan.
One sentence, sige.
Ayan. Buwan, o nga pala. Uy, nangingilang. Today is August 31, and we are closing buwan ng wika today on the cultural agencies hearing. And I'm sorry, I'm speaking in English. Dapat Filipino, baka mabaluktot. Bilingual naman tayo. O, sige. Okay. So, Director General Roberto Año Nuevo. Yeah, your name sounds very familiar, of course. Pwede po kayong magsalita po ng anumang tula. Maikli lang po. 20 seconds. Gusto ko lang marinig po ang inyong tinig at ano pong pinagmamalaki niyong tula na Kayo pong sumulat o si Chair Rio ang sumulat? Maski ano pong maaalala nyo, hindi kailangan may kodigo. Sige po. Thank you.
Ipagpaumanin po ninyo, wala po akong ma-re-recite ngayon. Dahil ang isip ko po ay nakafocus sa...
Walang dahilan. Walang budget kung walang tula. No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. No. Anything. Maski na bahay kubo. Sige
Isang
na.
linya, pwede ma'am?
Ha?
Isang linya.
Isang linya
Isang
na
tuwa.
ba?
Isang araw, nakita ko ang ina ko'y namamanglaw. Naghuhugas ng marumit mga lumang kasangkapan. Ang pamana.
Okay, good. Gusto ko po yung sinulat ni Mr. Añonuevo. Wala po kayong listahan dyan or a book of your poetry.
Pakundala ngayon, pero bibigyan ko po kayo ng...
Autographed. You don't memorize any single line of any of your poetry?
Hindi po eh.
Talaga?
Hindi ko po kinakabisa.
Kailangan mag-poetry reading. Can we have a poetry reading session here in the Senate? So all of us will be educated. Libre, ha? I mean, for everyone. Okay? So,
We'll bring you some poets.
Yeah.
The best that we
please,
have in...
bring some poets. Pero kayo na mag-organize because we're busy with the budget in one committee room and anyone can just walk in and just listen to poets reading their poems.
Actually, ma'am, we were just talking about it yesterday. I was talking with Congressman De Venecia,
Yes, tough.
and he was very excited about having some kind of poetry reading in Batasan, but we can have it here.
No, no, they can have it there, and we can have it here, and it will not limit it, of course, to the senators, but all the staff, including Attorney Doblon, who can read poetry. Huh? Joyce Kilmer yan.
So we can include the...
Yeah. Would you consider haiku, the Japanese haiku poetry? It is.
It is.
I used to write haikus when I was in grade school.
We have our own version of haiku.
Of a haiku. What do you call the Philippine haiku?
We have a very old form which we call Jonah.
Jonah.
Yeah, it's 3 lines also.
3 lines, parang
7
haiku.
syllables each.
Anong nauna sa haiku at sa Jonah?
Ay, mas matanda yung atin.
Can you spell Jonah?
D-I-Y-O-N-A.
D-I-Y-O.
O-N-A.
Excuse me, one minute suspension. Are we on Facebook Live? I hope we are. Can you announce it on Twitter that we're on Facebook Live and it's going to be a very exciting budget hearing? Okay, so the first item on the agenda is you schedule it within the month of September. We should have done it in August, but we were busy with the budget. So the one in charge is Director General Añonuevo, since he refused to read his poetry in this budget hearing today. Before we go to plenary in October, we should have just one session, even if only 2 people listen. I just want it to be said that we're starting a monthly poetry reading in the Philippine Senate. That would be great. I myself, I'd like to be educated. And I think I was 24 years old when I did poetry reading in Casa Manila. It came out, Husing Batute.
That's what he was reciting. The poem he was
Yes, Husing Batute. It was in Casa Manila. I was like, maybe 85, 86. Not sure, 84, 85, I'm not sure. Some early in the 80s. Anyway, so could we ask the ComSec please to read into the record the presence of everyone here? Sure, una, sige. Sinong babasa ng, ano?
Good morning, everyone. We'd like to acknowledge the presence of the following resource speakers: Commission on Filipino Language, Chair Virgilio Almario, Commissioner Lorna, Director General Roberto Añonuevo, National Commission on Culture and Arts, Executive Director Rico Pableo Jr., Cultural Center of the Philippines President Arsenio Lizazo, Vice President Rodolfo Del Rosario, Vice President Chris Miliado, National Library of the Philippines Director Cesar Gilbert Adriano, Officer in Charge Assistant Director Edgardo Quiros, National Historical Commission of the Philippines, Director Rene Escalante, Chairman. Deputy Executive Director, wait a minute, Lodovico Badoy. Okay. National Archives of the Philippines, Executive Director Victorino Mapa Manalo. Deputy Executive Director Marietta Chu. Deputy Executive Director Jocelyn Reyes. National Museum Director Jeremy Barnes. Film Development Council of the Philippines Chair Mary Lisa Dino. Okay.
Who's the executive director of the NCCA? Sino po? Ah, yes. Can you also sit here? Hindi pa tayo nakikilala, no? Ah, we met already. We talked already. Bago po kayo? Okay. I'd like to know the names and meet the new ones. Yes. Okay. Are we complete? All the agencies? Hindi NCIP is not today, no? No. Okay. Sige. Just, Cherio, who are the cultural agencies that should be here? Maybe Cherio, who are the cultural agencies that should be under the NCCA or should be together in the budget who are not here today? Or is this complete? No, Ino is here. No, ibig sabihin, ano pong ahensya ang dapat po nasa ilalim ng NCCA na hindi po nasa ilalim ng NCCA na maaring nasa ibang departamento ng gobyerno?
Well, we consider as allied cultural agencies the Intramuros Administration,
Which is under the DOT.
DOT, Dinayong Filipino,
Which is under DOT.
DOT
Dapat nga
also.
under NCCA.
and then National Parks and
Parks,
Development
still DOT.
also, and then the National Book Development Board,
Under
which is under the
DepEd,
DEX,
just
DepEd.
like National Museum.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. So I
And
should have
then-
put the National Book Board under me here. So it's being heard under DepEd.
Yeah,
Dep-
DepEd.
Next year, dapat pala dito, nag-hearing na ang DepEd.
Alin.
I will sit in the hearing, make sure walang ano sa akin. Sinong vice chair?
Yeah, but she is already here.
Si Bam. Si Bam. Dapat pala in-excise natin ang book board kasi mina-micromanage ko rin sila. Book
And then the
board.
Film Development,
Council,
yeah,
are they not under you?
no, OP.
OP. I see, sinasama
There's
ko lang
another
dito.
one, ma'am. The Design Center of the Philippines.
Design Center under
Yeah.
DTI.
Yeah, DTI.
It would be nice if all of that could be
Yeah.
under one body. Yes. Why is it that they are not under the NCCA? Because when the NCCA law was crafted, hindi
Yeah.
po talagang sinama yon, tinanggal po.
Perhaps they are not yet existing at that time.
So it's possible they were not existing when the NCCA law was crafted, or in the amendments it was taken out under the NCCA. Just like in the Department of Culture. I wonder, can you just check our Department of Culture bill if all of the agencies that Cherio mentioned are there? Oo. Except for Design Center.
Ganun ba? Sige.
Oo. Because I'm one of the authors of the Department of Culture. There are various versions. Can you just, not today, check the draft? May committee report na, nag-sponsor na eh, no? What is
Yes,
it?
ma'am. The bill you
Yes.
sponsored
Yes.
last week contains all those
Ah,
agencies.
sige. But I can see that there's some opposition to putting some agencies under different departments under a Department of Culture. May mga kumausap na sa akin, they have concerns, and I don't know. Of course, it's a matter of turf, no? But it would be great if you could have that department. And I think since it's in the socio-economic agenda, is it what you call it, of the president, the creation of the Department of Culture was there, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So, do we still talk about your budget or we just talk about your projects? Sige. Okay. Projects na lang. No. So, one by one lang, ganito. Kasi mahaba ito, no? You have to go ahead, right? Sige. Don't go through mission vision. Just show me the slides and just please let me know your projects. That's it. Fast lang. No, show me. Please put it there. Then we see your budget.
Okay.
So that it's on the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Should I begin? Good morning, Senator. Good morning to our fellow and co-heads of agencies. My name is Liza Dino. I am the head of the Film Development Council of the Philippines. Just to go through the budget, last year we were given 163.045 with personal services at 18 million, MOOE at 71.1 million. The AMTAX, which goes to our filmmakers for their graded A films and graded B films, is at 69.86. Capital outlay of 4 million for our Cinematheque. And this year we were given a 5% increase with personal services at 21.285 million because of the 15% increase because of the third tranche of salary increase. 80.024 for our MOOE, and still at 69.86 million for the AMTAX rebates. A capital outlay of 1.1 million for our
Excuse
motor
me.
vehicle.
Since we have a hard copy of every agency's budget, I won't tire you to read everything.
Okay.
Can you just pick out your most important projects and the status of each? Let's say the Cinematheque.
Yes.
How many Cinematheques are existing in the country, and what's the feedback? Are people watching it? Do you have
Yes.
enough films to show? I know that there were a few, one or two additional Cinematheques that you requested me to put, and I think I approved that amendment. Where is it located, and is it already up or being constructed or
Yes.
bidded, because it will expire by December? And then
Yes.
the other programs of the
Okay.
Film Development Council.
So let me start with our film heritage preservation program, which is very important for us because it's for the protection of our cinematic heritage. And right now, it's the biggest challenge of FDCP because it's all capital outlay heavy. We have had our target for films restored is 3, and with accomplishment of 6. Audiovisual elements managed in the archives. The target is 25,000, and our accomplishment is 24,000, and still at 24,000 as of June 30, 2017, because of the threshold of our archive facility. So, ito po ang challenge ngayon ng FDCP dahil wala po talaga kaming permanent facility right now. Walang lalagyan na. Tuloy lang? Okay. So, we have partnerships now with agencies who are willing to deposit their collections to us, but because of the lack of storage and lack of permanent facility for our archives, it's really hard for us to continue accommodating. So we're actually looking for a transition storage facility in Subic. The old bunkers there are being inspected to qualify as a storage facility. We just had our our latest film restored. It is the oldest film in our collection, a 1936 film entitled Zamboanga, directed by Eduardo Castro, starring Fernando Pos Sr. And for our we did some archive programs because we want to really mainstream the importance of cinematic heritage and protecting our films and our collection. So we just had we have a SIPAVA conference in cooperation with CCP and some other agencies, and Collective Tracking Agency, which featured a lot of the experimental cinema of the Philippines in the 1970s.
Okay. May I just, all these films that you need to digitize are in film format.
Yes, most of them are in film format.
Really?
Yes, meron din pong VHS, meron din pong Betacam. And we are
Do you
complete.
outsource the digitization, or do we have the facilities
We
in the
have
film
a film scanner right now.
that can digitize what formats? From VHS, Betacam,
And film reels.
film reel,
Yes,
Betamax, kaya po,
yes, kaya po. Meron po kaming mga facilities, meron po kaming mga equipment that may mga Betamax players po kami.
Meron po umaandar.
Yes.
Are these only for government films, or do you allow
We allow private depositors without charge po. Kasi po, i-mandate po namin siya. So,
Charge. So, but they have, you mean the services are being granted and they digitize with you and you give it back to them and
hindi po, nasa catalog po namin siya. Yung storage po ang binibigay po namin for free sa lahat po ng mga
no digitization,
Digitization is
not free.
well, actually access po. If they ask for copies, then we charge a processing
no.
fee.
If someone has a private film or documentary and needs to be digitized, do you do that service for the
Yes,
public?
we do. May bayad po yun.
May bayad yun.
Opo. A
What do you
minimal
call
fee.
that service? Digitization service?
Digitization, just that was our partnership with Kalampag Tracking Agency. They
Kalampag
asked,
tracking. That's an
yes.
outsourced group.
They are a group of archivists, and they do screenings and film festivals for experimental cinema.
And all of those in your library are being digitized.
Yes, lahat
Really?
po. Naka-prioritize po yan.
How
kung
many
ano
more
po.
films need to be digitized?
Naku, madami po.
Thousands.
Thousands po.
Thousands. And these are just those owned or stored in Film Development Council.
Yes.
Yes. And the others like Star Cinema or ABS-CBN or GMA would have their own.
They have their own
They would have
storage.
their own storage and digitization
But even
facilities.
private companies like Viva Films, Regal Films, hindi po talaga maayos yung kanilang storage facility, and we actually requested them to deposit their collections to us bago po talagang completely masira.
When you say to deposit their collection, who will own the rights? Sila pa rin.
They own the rights, we are custodians.
And
so
that's
basi-
there's a MOA between the private sector producer,
Yes.
film owner, and the Film Development Council, and the storage is free?
Yes.
I see. And that's only for films, or does it also, is a service also done for, let's say, television?
Materials of cinematic heritage. So even for the PIA, with their tapes, we have all the Marcos diaries with
Yes,
us.
yes.
It's also with
Let's
us.
say all the presidential coverages of presidential trips from post-86.
Yes.
President Aquino. That's in RTVM and in PIA. Is that deposited in the Film
Yes,
Development
it's
Council?
with us now.
It's not with RTVM in Malacanang.
Because their facility is really
sure.
not equipped
Yeah.
to
So-
store these materials.
Meron kayong archives, in short,
Meron po
library,
kaming National Film Archives of the Philippines.
which may or may not be owned by government. And that's a service, and it's just cataloged there with the owners, whether private or another government institution.
Yes.
In short, the Film Development Council does not necessarily have to own the documentary, the coverage, the film.
Yes, we don't have to necessarily own the rights. We are custodians, and we keep this in
For
secret-
free.
For free. This is patterned after what CNC in France is doing also for their archives.
Okay, so storage is free, but the digitization of all these material are not free.
Opo.
Are they also free?
Well, actually, for every film digitized and restored, we talk to the owner, to the copyright owner, for a partnership in terms of like exhibition, screening outside. Yun, it's actually an
No, who
individual.
shoulders the cost of the digitization
We
of the
do.
materials?
We do po.
It's also for free.
It's part of our mandate po.
Oh, so storage is free. Digitization of materials not owned by government is also free as long as it's stored with you, but they can actually utilize the digitized material and gain from it or profit from it with no funds going back to government? How's the setup?
Meron po. It's a revenue sharing scheme po. And the rights of the films are with us for a certain number of years, just like what we did with Sir Mike De Leon, Direct Mike De Leon.
If it's a film, how about if it's documentation? For example, my 1986 to 1990 weekly television programs in ABS-CBN. Assuming that it's just there and they haven't digitized it, can ABS-CBN give you the pep talk episodes of 4 years and archive it there, and you will give free storage and free digitization. As long as they will not air it, it's just immortalized through that digitization.
Ang priority po namin ngayon is with government agencies. So most of the government agencies
Okay.
have deposited their collections to
I
us.
see. So that is kayo ang archives.
Kami po ang archives. In
And
terms
the
of
archives, yung kila Director Ino will be hard copy archives. Kayo ang film and television archives, and I would imagine books would be Ino? Yes, just so that I understand.
Strictly speaking, many films are considered records, especially if they're evidences of transactions.
Yes.
So strictly speaking, those are also those are covered by the mandate of the National Archives. In other countries,
Do you also have
we right now
storage and archives and
right
digitization?
now,
No.
well, as you are aware of our problem, we are barely able to hang on to our storage in the National Library. No, we are still negotiating because they really want us to leave. But the problem is our mandate, as the law is written.
Yeah.
Some of these films, not things like movies by Mike De Leon, but some of these government documentaries or government film are actually part of the records. And right now, many of these are covered by the records disposition schedule and are therefore under our mandate.
Okay. I know there could be some overlap, but that's fine, as long as someone's taking care of it. And since I can see, perhaps so that if it's film, whether government or private, let's let the Film Development Council do, because the National Archives has so much to do. Just documents, ang dami-dami, pictures, documents. So I just want to make sure that the history of our country, even post-86, naka-document pa yan. If I tell you, for example, can you please show me the first, can you give me a copy of the first overseas trip of President Aquino in June of 86 to Indonesia and to Singapore? Would you have that? Is it digitized?
I can check po
Yes.
if it's
Okay, check
digitized,
lang
but we
natin.
have
Let's see.
mostly lahat po basta kinover po ng PIA.
Yes.
Nasa amin
They
po
did.
siya dahil
Are
they
they
are
did?
continuously depositing to us also. With the facility that we have, it's temperature controlled and it abides by the standards of archiving
Okay.
facilities
So
from other
effective
countries.
immediately, I'm going to make my staff list everything that I have produced while senator. I mean, not what I produced when I was a journalist for 20 years, because what I do is not just legislate, but also document in terms of video. For example, Taklub
Yes.
with Brillante Mendoza. For example, Ligtas Likas, animation for climate change for children. It's just lying somewhere. So, Dayaw,
and
the
it's
Dayaw
dying.
series
It
with
could be
NCCA, who's keeping, I don't know. So, please, Estelle, my staff is not in charge, so the
Yes.
two of you. So, so list everything down since 1998 when I started, everything, all the video work that
Yes.
I do as a documentarist / senator, because I want all my work to be documented, and this is a legacy. Dayaw is so beautiful. I'm not sure where it's kept in NCCA. We're not sure that we have the facilities. We have a copy, but we're not sure of the storage facilities. So while we have a copy, and I keep a copy, that's good. But you should have, in fact, ANC, the one producing it, should turn over the copy because that's government property. Let's say Brillante Mendoza did work with the DNR, the protected areas, which we have not yet aired, and these are all the protected areas of the country that should be turned over to you,
Yes.
even if you have not yet aired it in commercial TV.
Yes.
Okay. So your mandate is clear. Your priority is government agencies and video, film.
Materials of
Material.
important cinematic heritage. So, meron po kaming we work with Sophia, we work with archivists to help us in prioritizing those that are really needed to be digitized. And actually, nasa priority rin po siya, yung state din po ng materials natin, ng mga film reels natin, yun po ang pinaprioritize namin
For
i-digitize.
example, the Senate hearings na naka-video,
Yes.
it's stored here. I don't know how it's stored here. Well, it's in YouTube.
And continues po yung program namin on really mainstreaming the importance of preservation and
Would you
collection.
consider
Even
the
po
Senate
private
buildings as
collection.
cinematic
Yes.
heritage?
Lahat po.
Yes.
Actually, in abroad, even home videos are
Sure.
considered as
Everything. Yes.
heritage kasi po that really gives you the history of.
Yes. For example, the Senate debates on the Paris Agreement. I mean, that's history. Yes. The committee hearing on the ILO 151, which was still in 1978. It was only President Duterte who ratified it as president. From 78, he's the first president, you know that, who ratified
Wow.
ILO 151, giving you, us, government workers, the right to organize and the rights of parity now with the private sector rights. So we have got to have it on the president. That's in May of this year. And I, in one hearing, as a chair of the Committee on Relations, passed it on the same day. It doesn't hit the headlines. Maybe they don't understand what it means. So, but that's so important. So the hearing where the unionists were here and we discussed it, that's history, right? That should be archived. So all of these things. So I think, may I request, Chair Dino, first I will give you my list and turn over to you
Okay.
everything that I've produced in the past 18 years. Second, I will link you with whoever is in charge in the Senate who has all this video of important Senate debates, investigations, ousters, and, well, good and bad. That's part of our history,
It
even
is.
post-EDSA. I don't know if they have the Senate before EDSA. Let's say the rejection of the basis agreement, or the ratification of the VFA in 1999 when only 5 of us voted against it. I mean, these are history, right? If you juxtapose the rejection of the basis in the old Senate building, which is the National Museum, and the ratification of the VFA in 1990, nakita nyo how in a decade, change. Iba ang pananaw.
Exactly.
Iba? Those things,
We actually push for any existing or from here on for them to deposit each film that is made and produced by our filmmakers because we don't want any more loss, especially since we've already lost almost half of our films.
Immediately, may I just put on record, can you please secure Dayaw? I'm not saying NCCA and my office should not have a copy. We'll have a copy. But wala naman ako storage dito. Sa bahay ko mainit-init. NCCA, wala din. So dapat yung original copy sa inyo. So ANC still has a copy. Get it? That's government property. There's another, we're doing yung Buhay na Buhay with Chair June. They always outsource the producers. The producers should not keep a copy kasi baka hindi namin na monitor, baka tinatago
Yes.
nila yung original. Get it, please? And then the protected areas of DNR, I'm sure DNR will not be able to store it. There's no storage there. Baka mawala lang yan. Get it, please, from Director Brillante Mendoza and Taklub and all my others. Ililista ko lahat. It's just sayang kung hindi natin
Opo.
ma-archive. Yan yung mga current lang, yung mga dati
Yes.
pa, hindi ko. And that's only film. Yung kay Director Ino pa, photos, documents. Wow.
And iba-iba siyang format kasi iba
Yes.
rin po talaga yung
Yes, yes.
storage for
Yes,
digitized
yes,
materials.
yes. Okay. Okay. Oh, so much to do. So you should have a budget for digitization.
And of course po, sana po, if we're going to really do this, sana po talaga a permanent facility. And right now, we have identified a transition facility in
Oh, you
Subic.
don't have a permanent facility for storage?
Right now, we have film vaults. And siguro right now, 4 po ang film vaults namin. So ngayon po, we are partnering with Subic. We have technical consultants going to the bunkers because it used to be the U.S. bases bunkers, and it was inspected and cleared as a storage, as
It
an
would be a
archiving
good
facility.
place for
Yes,
storage.
yes po.
Dapat hindi mga... Yeah, Subic is good. It's by the sea. Is that good?
Pero ano po siya, this is the bomb shelters.
Well,
before.
let the experts
Yes.
decide on that. Thank you. Okay. Maraming tatanungin pero walang panahon eh.
Opo.
Just go through that. So, your digitization, make sure there's adequate budget for that, please. And prioritize, yes, government. Could you just give us, Senate na muna, give us a report on what needs to be digitized in the Senate and coordinate. para
Okay.
hindi masayang.
Yes,
Oo.
Senator.
And maybe same with Director Manalo of the National Archives, the archives of the Senate also na dapat i-transfer sa kanila, or do we keep it? I'm not sure. Kasi or
So
maybe
is the-
look at
yeah.
our archives here.
Yeah, we're in touch naman with the Senate
Yes.
archives, and we will, we have been talking to them about how they're kept, how they're preserved.
I wonder, I haven't even checked our archives here. Who is ahead of our archives in the Senate? We have a head of archives? Bondok. Oo. And meron tayong archives. Minsan pupuntahan ko yung archives dito. Maayos? Yeah. Not sure.
We can have technical consultants
Yes.
come also so we
Sure.
can check
So
the...
both the National Archives and the Film Development Council, because remember, we are just renting here. And I don't know the quality of this building. So could you check the quality of the video, the film, video archives, and the hard copy of speeches, transcripts? Yes, Director Ino.
Chairman Dino and I have to meet.
You have to work together.
And work together, because our policy has always been that we are aware that we do not have facilities for film storage. However, our mandate actually requires that we ask government agencies to turn over all information materials in all format, no? So we can talk together, because in fact, even the library and CCP also have films in their collections, no? And it's really
Even NCCA,
important not to
yes.
duplicate efforts
Okay.
given limited resources.
Yeah.
However, we do have the mandate to ask records, the film records from all agencies.
Yes.
No, so we can use that
Even if
mandate
you ask
to
that,
rationalize
even if you
it.
ask, it doesn't mean that the agency can't keep a copy. We can always keep duplicate
Especially with
copies. Yeah.
digitization, wala na
Yes.
talagang problema.
Yes.
But the question was,
Importante nga as many copies as possible with the different agencies para kung masunog ang isa o masira, mawala, mapasa, o meron pang iba. I
no,
just,
these
baka yung archive, baka sa inyo ang masunog, or pag hindi na kayo ang head, malay ko kung ano, that is meron yung isa, gano'n, may natitira dun. Like yung mga pinoproduce ko with NCCA, gusto ko meron NCCA, meron din ang Senate,
Can
meron
I-
din kayo, gano'n.
can I
Para pag
request,
maski wala nga tayo, somewhere meron dyan. Hindi
can I
sayang ang pagod natin.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I request a collective knock on wood, pera buyag? No,
Oh,
that
yes.
will ever happen.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay, sige. Okay, thank you. So FDCP is fine. We can go to the others.
Okay.
How many Cinematheques?
Oh, Cinematheques.
country?
Now, we have existing 5, Davao.
That was during the time of Chair Big Show.
Yes.
You already set up any during your time?
Yes, we just had a groundbreaking of the Nabunturan Compostela Valley Cinematheque.
You
and we
asked that as your amendment last year, I remember.
Yes, and thank you, ma'am.
sige.
Thank you, Senator. And for our ongoing and proposed already in the DPWH level, that's the Nabunturan Compostela Valley. We just had a groundbreaking last August 25, at the same time that the Cinema Region was happening. We also have a proposed and we have ongoing renovations for Bacolod Cinematheque and planned constructions for San Jose Antique, Burawan Leyte, Lawag City.
Just all of these are in your 2017 budget, right?
The one in the 2017 budget was the Nabunturan Compostela Valley and San Jose Antique, pero ang enough lang po na nabigay sa amin is for the Nabunturan.
Also, there's no funds for Antique?
We were given 4 million for the Nabunturan.
So you were given, I gave you 4 and that was only for 1.
Yes,
So there's no funding for San Jose Antique. I thought there was funding.
Because at the time since last year up to hanggang ngayon, hanggang nasa contract of lease pa lang po kami with the San Jose Antique, because the location, which was the old provincial capital,
Yes.
is still yet to be vacated. So
It has to be vacated. It will be renovated, I think, into a National Museum satellite. Have you approved that? I talked to Anna about it because it's a 100-year-old structure. I don't know if it's been declared an important cultural treasure, and one room can be cinematheque. It could be, according to Anna, I think, It was nice
Yes.
museum, it's within the plaza. But
Yes.
she said you were supposed to approve that. That was like several months ago.
Yes, no problem with the idea in principle, but we're still definitely at the planning stage. So we don't have a
Hindi pa
budget.
ya-
We
hindi
don't have
pa
a
yata
budget
nag-
proposal for.
Wala. No, I put a budget nga eh. There's a budget that will expire. Yes. Not in National Museum. I'm not sure where, can you find out? The old legislative building, there's a budget for 2017. No one is touching it. Where is it lodged? Under what agency? Maybe
Madam
it's
Senator?
DPWH
Madam Senator?
or local government. I'm not, baka NHCP.
It's under our
Okay, clarify natin. Can you
Madam,
please, Dr. Escalante, yes.
DPWH will take care of the new-
DPWH should not demolish, huh?
Yeah.
Please, they're very notorious for demolishing historic places.
So DPWH will build the new provincial capital and then NHCP will restore the old.
Teka, i-clarify po natin. So, there was a budget for the legislative building, the old provincial capital, lodged under NHCP.
Correct.
I see NHCP.
But this is for 2018 because
No.
they cannot vacate.
No. I just want to know, Attorney Yoli, 2017, I provided funds for the new legislative building and for the upkeep rehab of the old legislative building. I want to know which agency has the funds.
Madam, DPWH po.
DP?
It's in with the DPWH.
DP.
Yeah.
100 million, ang laki-laki nun.
Yeah.
And no one in Antique is moving. Can we just clarify? Yung actual, 100? Hindi. Ganito po. While we're talking, iba yung construction of the new legislative building. Iba yung rehabilitation of the restoration of the historic. Yes, sa inyo po yun.
Sa amin po, sa amin po.
Okay, basta
But we
safe.
can-
Kasi takot ako pag DPWH. Magkano po yung nasa inyo? 2018. No. 2017, I am certain I put funds this year. Wala kayo? Nakakatakot. Pag DPWH, baka i-bulldozer yung heritage structure. I-check nyo, imposible ilalagay yung, ipaki-check kung DPWH, ha? Iba yung bagong struktura, iba yung rehab nito. Kung DP yun, kailangan, ganito, nasistress na naman ako. Pag DPWH, mali ko linagay, dapat linagay ko sa NM or NHCP. They're finding out saan nakalagay yung pondo. It's not NM because you don't know. And it's not NHCP because you don't know, right? Wala sa kanila. Baka nga DP. If it's DPWH, who do I ask? Can I ask both NHCP and National Museum? Whoever can implement it best. I'm so scared it's with DPWH that might bulldoze the whole heritage structure to pave the way for the new legislative building. It's beautiful, it should be retained the way it is, and inside it will be a national museum, what do you call it, satellite museum? A culture, ang ganda-ganda
Yeah, some
nun.
kind of cultural center.
Yes,
for
like a
Antique.
cultural center.
And the
of-
Cinematheque.
Actually, not just for Antique, for the region, because you have a national museum in Iloilo.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you have,
That's quite a large one.
it's a big one, pero marami pa raw hindi kayang iandon. It can be a satellite national museum. I leave it to your better judgment. So NHCP and National Museum, either of you should do a MOA with DPWH so that you have guidance. And then a room, and then you can ocular. So NM, ganito na lang. Can I request NM, NHCP, FDCP to visit within the month of September, which is tomorrow already, ASAP, because the funds will expire by this year. Akin na yung amount at saka yung agency. Nung dalawa ha, yung bago at saka yung luma. Sino bang in charge? Sino in charge sa inyo? Sino LBRO staff in charge? You're in charge?
Ito, ma'am.
Yeah. So what is it? How can you not know?
Public Works. Nasa Public Works yun. Yan ma'am, Public Works kasi hindi nyo maalam man yan kasi Public Works ang kapasok. So you have...
Ito. Ito. Okay, they found it. So, see? It's 50. The construction of a new legislative building, 50 million. Even if it's lodged under DPWH Antique DEO. I am putting it on record. An NHCP, National Museum, please watch what they're doing. I don't want them to put an ice cream colored building. You know what I mean? Ube at mangga. Ube, mango flavor, I mean all the multicolor. Please. It should be similar or akin to the old provincial capital, which is just beige. Because the provincial capital now, which exists, I don't know how old it is, they colored it red. There's nothing wrong with red. I'm wearing red. Sana malang Marsala red. I mean, but even the way it was done. Oo. So, baka maging ice cream yung mga building sa plaza. At saka, luma yon. I think over 100 years old. Can you just give me the background? Dito sa Linos, pakisulat mo. Yung nag-construct mo, yung arkitekto. It was an American architect. Yeah. So could I request National Museum 50 million for the rehabilitation, and these funds will expire, and DPWH is not moving. It's lodged with them, pero you have to give them the guidance how to rehabilitate the. So DPWH will do the heavy work, but under the guidance of NHCP, and the occupant will be. Kayo na mag-decide. National Museum, NHCP, but dapat may cinematic doon. Malaki eh. Isang kwarto lang o dalawang kwarto NHCP. I mean,
We already did our ocular. It's going to be on the
Ayun pala.
second floor.
Ayun
It's
pala.
not old.
So, the areas not occupied by Cinematheque will be NHCP or National Museum. I leave it to you. You can share. Part of it can be documents of NHCP. Part of it can be NM. We could have a Hibla Textile Gallery there. Oo. Ganun. Ganda. Ang hiling ko lang, gastusin nyo, 100 milyon eh. Re-revert sa treasury to.
Nasaan tayo ngayon sa kanila? Contract of lease pa lang, di ba?
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am, pwede rin sa repository ng Kinaraya. Oh.
Cherio, give me your ideas. It's already September. I'm so scared. September, October, November. Sayang, it will revert to Treasury. No, sometimes provinces na nakaligtaan ng panahon, pag binibigyan mo ng pondo, hindi sila gumagalaw. They don't know how to go about it. So, please, National Museum, NHCP, FDCP, puntahan nyo kasama ng Regional Director ng DPWH Region 6 at yung Assistant Regional Director na taga-Antique, si Pruto, para gastusin ang pera kasi hindi nila alam kung anong gagawin. Yun. Maganda yung sinabi ni Cherio, a repository of Kinaraya culture. I wouldn't know how to go about that. Sino po ang...
Alice Magos and the others there, so that they can suggest what items can be.
The items can come later. Importante lang ma-obligate yung funds because the interiors, that would come easy if there's a Cinematheque and there's a textile gallery or Kinaraya culture photos and artworks, etc. The inside madali na yon, but the money just has to be obligated. I'm glad I was reminded, otherwise it's not moving. Okay, let's move out of, so Cinematheque,
Right now we
don't
have
have funds for that, o Nabunturan.
But for Nabuntu, the 4 million was used for Nabunturan. We already have a groundbreaking, the pre-bid.
So you just have to put your funds for next year for
Yes.
the Cinematheque.
Yes po.
So walang masasayang pala.
Wala naman po.
Okay. Anyway, it's 3 months and you'll have, by that time, DPWH, under the guidance of the two cultural agencies, would have moved and obligated their funds. Anyway,
Yes.
interior ka naman. Tama? But you have to work with DPWH so that they can construct it.
Exactly.
Okay. Sige. And the others, yeah.
The others, ito po actually, yung iba po dito DPWH level na. Itong San Jose Antique is still a contract of lease. Actually, we have the letter. Burawan Leyte, Ilocos Norte, this is up for renovation. Naga Camarines Sur. QCX is already going to be launched in September. We're going to do the operations for the...
Saan ba dapat may Cinematheque? Sa probinsya o sa syudad?
Actually, ang idea po is Cinematheques are alternative venues because most of our filmmakers and don't really have the access to be released in commercial cinemas. So this is the essence of it. It's an event-based project. So
Meron dito sa malapit sa atin, no? Oh, wala kaming, di ba?
meron po dito sa
Meron sa Ermita.
Opo.
Hindi meron sa Ermita?
Sa Casino Espanyol, yung FDCP building po, yung aming office.
Oh, I see.
Sa baba po nun, it's the old Instituto Cervantes.
Yes, yes.
So we have month-long, every month po may mga...
Wouldn't it not be great if there's a Cinematheque in Intramuros?
Yes, actually we're talking to the Intramuros administration. They want to turn over to us their Lights and Sound Museum.
Nagalit si Senator Gordon.
Hi, Senator.
There is a new building being developed by Instituto Cervantes in Intramuros. Yes, so it can
Yes, correct.
serve the cinematic,
Yeah, that's an Instituto Cervantes in Explore Data. Sige. Okay, now we can go to the other agencies and then
Okay.
you can, I think you wanted to leave early.
Yes. So we're done na po. Okay po.
We're done. Sige. Just
Tapos na? Wow.
we proceed with the archive. Since we started with the Film Development Council, how about the archives? Where are you located now, Director Manalo, Ino?
We are located in the port area, but soon we will have to move again because there have been too many there've already been 7 killings in front of our office. Murders. Murders.
What?
7 tao nang pinatay sa harap namin. Tapos, and then we've had 2 fires. So, we moved to that area because that was the only place we could afford because we had to move out mid-budget, no? So,
Where were you located before?
we were in the National Library building. But they're fixing it, so
Who's the
they're...
head of the library?
So, National, yeah.
Are you new? New.
Yes, ma'am.
Who was the lady before that I would see every year?
Yoli Jacinto.
Where is she? She retired.
She retired.
already, ma'am.
What is her name? Yoli
Jacinto.
Jacinto.
Yeah.
For the longest time, siya palagi, no? She was the head. No, it was a man who passed away.
Yes.
Attorney Santos.
Antonio Santos.
Mr. Santos. Okay, it was
Yeah.
Mr. Santos, and then the OIC was Yoli.
Yoli Jacinto.
And now it's Mr. Adiano. Where are you from, Mr. Adiano?
Good morning.
I am from Davao City, ma'am.
Yes, what was your experience?
I am a division chief of the human resource of the local government unit of Davao.
Okay. You have all of those career are still there, I suppose, or to be able to guide you on the importance of the National Library and what is it to be done, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Ako
Yes.
lang po ang bago.
Okay.
Accountability
Clear, clear.
of public
Yeah.
officers.
And so, you used to be in the
And,
library.
Yes. But since they were
believe we subpoenaed some
retrofitting,
personalities here
they had
this
a
morning.
very hard time. So to help them, we also moved out.
COPSEC,
Are you still retrofitting now, Director Adriano?
Yes, ma'am. We are in the final phase na po.
Return to the library, up from your, should you return to the National Library premises where you were before?
Actually, ma'am, we
It's dangerous, you keep on moving, and you have the archives.
yes.
Paano
That's
ba
why. At
Ano,
least now,
paglilipat kayo, lahat? Linilipat?
ngayon we finally got a budget to buy land. So we're buying that next year.
So dangerous, no?
Actually,
If the budget to buy land, to build it, hindi na akong chair ninyo, hindi kayo bibigyan, sigurado ako. 2 years lang ako. No, you have to move
We
to an
sent
existing
subpoena to
building
the following
and we'll give you the budget
people,
to fix
Captain
it.
Nicanor Faeldon,
Ang daming government
Attorney Mandy
buildings.
Anderson,
How much space
Ms.
do you
Dolores
need?
Domingo,
So
and
much
Mr.
government
Benedict
buildings.
Taguba.
Find the place wherever in Metro
Captain
Manila, please.
Faeldon
If you
is
will
not
buy the land and
yet
then
here.
build a new one,
Is Ms. Anderson
baka bibiling lupa, tapos pag hindi kayo
Attorney
bigyan ng
Anderson is
pondo,
here. Is it
wala kayong pupuntahan. What do you think? I know that the archives
Anderson is
can be a
here.
grand building, that's our dream. But in the meantime, you said it's very dangerous to be in the court area. In the meantime, you said you
Ms.
had a
Dolores
fire.
Domingo.
So does it mean immediately within the year you have to transfer to somewhere?
Is here.
Yes, we're transferring to Binondo.
Mr. Ruben Taguba sent a
Is that,
letter from a
but
from
matatawa
his
si,
office.
there must be a reason for the laughter of the chairman.
Minute laughter of the National Museum.
Kaya nga, hindi kayong chairman,
And
sige
the-
po. Kayong chairman
The letter
NCCA, it's
states
not for me
that
to
Mr.
micromanage.
Taguba is
What do you
currently
think?
confined at the Asian
Can you
Hospital
decide the
Center for
fate
Cardiology-
of the
Cardiology
archives? The
Workup
archives
and management after being
is our heart and
hyper-
soul of the
hypertension
nation,
stage
and you
2.
keep on transferring. So it was from library, now to port area, which is a dangerous place, not just for files, but for killings. Saan sila lilipat, Cherry?
What is ideal, Madam Chair, is that the archive should be located together with the National Library.
Yes. So, is there a space in the National Library since you moved out how many years ago from the library? Dapat magkasama hindi malalayo, tapos renting na naman. Bumalik na kayo sa pinanggalingan nyo. Meron ba silang lugar na paglilipatan na safe na walang construction?
There is, ma'am, the National Historical Commission building.
Nasaan yun?
We are just beside the National Library and we are offering to Director Manalo, we have an annex building just beside
Very
our
good.
building.
Where is that?
If you are familiar with the place, the location is National Library.
It would be Cherry to decide on all this. Siyang chairman ng NCCA. Hindi, nasa-stress ako mag-micromanage, narinig ko yung mga problemang yan. Kayo na ho. Oo, ako kasi policy lang at saka budget ninyo. Pero you're correct, hindi pwedeng you're all over na to Manila. Magkakadikit kayo, malapit. Sige. So, what is your preference? So, Director Escalante, where is your building? I should visit all of you one day. I just always go to NCCA. I don't see the other buildings.
Company, ma'am.
Then that means you will ask for a bigger budget. It must be a sorry place. Nasaan ba NHCP?
The arrangement, Madam, is we have the National Library and we have the annex building and then we have our main building. We have already, yeah,
Yes, okay.
we have done the rest of the.
That's a very nice
Mr.
place,
Monument.
yes.
We have already preliminary discussions with the.
Okay. So there's a building that's not occupied.
No, we use it as our storage.
Well, Rene, Madam Chair, may
Sandali, tapusin po natin si Dr. Ayun, bago po kayo.
Yeah, I was elected only last February.
Last
Last February this year,
Who was ahead before?
Dr. Jogno.
I see. And, but of course, andyan pa, forever, Director Badoy. Okay. So, mas kinabago yung mga ulo, basta nandyan kayo, alam nyo yung ginagawa nyo. Sige, wag mawawala yung mga kilala. Where are you from? May I know.
I used to be the chair of the Department of History of De La Salle University.
Chair of LaSalle,
Yes, Department of History.
of History. Okay, good.
Yeah, I used to be a member of the NCCA also as head
That's
of
why you
the
look
Committee
familiar.
on
Yes,
Historical
okay.
Research.
Fine. So, you have the space, and you're applying now talk to the archives.
Meron po kaming annex building just beside our building. We're using it for a classroom and then storage for some of our staff.
And is that enough space for the archives?
Just for the reading room and for the historical materials. Because we have been discussing this already in NCCA and we're trying to help Director Manalo how to manage this problem.
I leave it to the decision of the NCCA through the chair, Director Manalo, to decide where to move. I agree that it should be near the library and near the NHCP. I think that's ideal, right?
May I
Yes,
say something?
Director Manalo.
What we're referring to here, well, just for the information of the body, this all started because we already had a building ready, but it was taken away from us. No, I just want to put. We're talking about the Intendencia building. Anyway, so because of that, Because of that,
That's DOF.
Yeah.
Masalimuot yun. That's
Yeah.
the Department of Finance, right?
the Department of Tourism.
Department of Tourism.
Madam Chair. So because of that, we have been asking for an alternative budget for an alternative building. So we finally got it this year. So I'm talking when I'm saying that we're moving to Binondo, this is the office. These are the offices of the archives. The records remain in the National Library. So just to clarify, the records are in the National Library. In fact, they need to be protected, and that is why the reading room ideally should be in the library. If that cannot happen, there is also the NHCP.
The 300 million in the NEP for acquisition of land and building. What is this?
The land that we identified was on UN Avenue in Paco.
But why are you moving to Binondo? I'm not sure.
For our offices, because it's become
Ang
too
gulo.
dangerous. We moved out of
Can you
the
decide
library.
what to do here?
We moved out of the library because it was to help them, and because we were aware that we already had a building waiting. It would have been finished by now, but unfortunately there was a problem. So that's why all these problems. In fact, the other thing that we really need to do is to work with the library to protect the collection that's there now, because there's still construction going on around it. No, so that's the thing that we need to do. We might need extra budget to fix the ceilings and things like that. No. So may I continue with my presentation?
Please.
Okay.
We have not decided where you will move. I will leave it to the NCCA chair to decide based on, you'll just discuss it among yourselves.
Yes.
But just my comment, to be moving temporary here and it's very dangerous for the materials. And let's find you a permanent home. That's doable with a budget. But if we start from scratch and then build the building, don't we have an existing building that we can just retrofit so that
We've
it's
tried-
faster and cheaper?
We tried to find, ma'am, but we cannot. We've always had problems because of the building load. Because documents are inert, so they need to be in a place that can carry the load. So that's why we had already spent 12 million to plan a new building, but unfortunately that was all thrown away.
So it's September 1 tomorrow. By the time I defend the budget in October, the NCCA should have decided your fate. Where to go, either permanently in an existing building, then we just change this 300 into retrofitting rehabilitation of that structure already up. Or if the NCCA so decides with you to go to a temporary place, then you should have the rental NOE budget, and then this stays if that is the decision. So I leave it to you, better judgment. I will not interfere. Yes.
Ma'am, your suggestion now was very well taken, but just for more guidance, what kind of ceiling for a budget like that do you think would be feasible?
Just to let you know, I have to find 550 billion in the budget to fund free tertiary education. We passed the law. It is not in the NEP. At the same time, all agencies are coming to me as every year to ask for an increase in their budgets. So it's a very difficult task. But I always want to spend for culture. That's important. But let's be reasonable. If there are government structures, buildings that are existing in their space, we can rehabilitate it and fix it for the archives. There's no ceiling I can think of. The Senate doesn't even have its own building. We are renting in the GSIS, as you can see. We've not even funded ourselves with our own building. Because you took over our building. Yes.
I ask because there are several options, but they will all entail large outlays. I mean, there are large heritage buildings, the post office building, Quezon Institute.
Who's
things like
inside the post office building?
Philpost. But they will require purchase, a purchase price, right?
Sino may-ari ng post office building?
Philpost,
That's
a
government.
GOCC under DOF.
We should take it over. Sayang yun eh.
Philpost is under DOST?
Can you take it over? Part of National
Well,
Museum?
in the previous administration, former then Secretary Butchabat had asked me to negotiate with Philpost what kind of price they require, around 1.4 billion at the time. So that's why I was asking what kind of ceiling you think might be feasible. Because Philpost will take that money and then develop their property in Quezon City as their new central office. Opo.
Gusto niyo yan? Kaya nga, tubig yan lahat. Chairman, here's my card.
Okay. Could you look into that if it's Philpost? Are you happy with that?
Well, it was offered to us, but we turned it down because it's by the river.
By the river. Oo nga pala. The same issue as the Intendencia by the river. It's also by the river.
Well, the Intendencia was farther from the river, and we had arranged for that already.
Wag na nga.
But yeah, that one is right beside the river.
And you already have this Paco property na ocular at bagay doon. Ganun ba yun?
Well, it will do for us.
It's a vacant lot.
No, it's not. There's a building on it, but we will have to probably tear the parts of the building down.
If it's
I
a
want to
heritage
just
building,
stress,
no?
we're moving to Binondo, which is beside the river, to a building beside the river, but that's because those are our offices. The archives remain in the National Library.
O sige na. Okay, kayo na mag-decide. So the options, so it's not an option, it's expensive, and it's by the river, just like the issue with Intendencia? Okay.
We'd like to think that sooner or later we'll be able to bring the building into and convert it to a cultural purpose.
Yes. So not for the archives, and I leave it to the judgment of the chair of NCCA in consultation with the director of archives. But there's already a budgetary provision in the NEP of 300 for the UN Avenue lot. Then let's proceed. If it's already budgeted there, kung naka-budget na pala yun. Now,
The DBM is very clear that they're giving us the land this year, and they should be giving us money for funds for.
okay, as
building
long as it's
next
in the
year.
NEP. And as long as you've discussed it with DBM and it's in the NEP.
Yeah.
But you said it's not just the land, there's a building. Let's not keep on demolishing. Pag maganda naman yung building, pwedeng i-repurpose na lang.
But our recent consultations with the Singapore archives, they point out that the best way to have an archive depository
From the ground.
is to build it
To
from
build
the
from the
ground so that
ground.
you have a building within a building.
Okay. Sige.
So may I continue? I'll just make it
Yes.
very fast.
Not
Next
the
slide.
budget anymore, not mission, vision, and the
Yeah.
budget.
We're not talking about our
Okay.
mission. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so these are our programs. You can just take a look at them. Next slide. I just want to stress this one. This is the Community Archives Project, because this one was, we were just using an old budget, part of our regular budget for training, but we're requesting for additional funds so that we can have a program for local archives. Next slide. So that's our budget that already includes the new lot. Next slide. These are the three main things that we are asking for, that we have been granted by the DBM. Next slide. And that's the lot that we are planning to buy. We are also looking for alternatives, but anyway, this is what were able to offer to the DBM. Next slide. By the way, we also have a 6 million budget from the NCCA to do the planning, so we will be utilizing that. Okay, next. These are the things that we're asking for consideration. One is the building in Davao, because it's important that we already established. We have a permanent home for the Mindanao archives, but right now we are just renting. Next slide. And also the training for the local community archives. I recall the last time we spoke, you had expressed interest in these local archives, the training of people on how to do local archives. And so we are asking for an additional 700,000 for this, if it's possible.
That's very interesting. We should really train people. This is IEC, capacity building, to train communities how to archive.
Yes.
Ako, meron akong little yung bahay ko sa Malabon, ginawa kong archives house. Pero hindi ako marunong mag-archive, uwido lang. So I'd like to learn. How long is the workshop to learn how to archive?
Well, the initial workshop is for about 3 days.
3 days.
We're working on a manual now that we have worked on with UP Baguio. So there will be
Even before the manual, can you just kindly submit to the committee so that I also learn and include that please in your project soon? A simple manual, parang hindi naman lahat ng tao may 3 whole days para mag-workshop. Basahin lang yung manual, or in fact, sana i-download lang sa National Archives. We don't have to physically go everywhere. Time is so limited. In your website, immediately, and this should be before your budget is on the floor, I want to see a how-to understandable for non-technical people, how to archive, what to archive in community archives. In short, what we will learn in 3 days, can we just upload it for anyone to go navigate your website and see how it's done?
We can do
Then,
that.
second, could I receive a personal request, a memo from you, alituntunin kung paano mag-archives. Titingnan ko kung tama yung ginagawa ko. Kasi I'm an amateur archivist, but very passionate documentarist and archivist. Ayokong may nawawala. Nag-digitize, micromanage ko yan. Pero nakaka-stress at ang hirap talaga kasi hindi naman kaya naka-aircon palagi. So, please do that website soon. In fact, you should have done it sooner so that it's not, in this digital world, hindi dapat lahat palagi pinupuntahan natin. Hindi natin makakaya ang buong Pilipinas. Pero, lalo yung mga millennials ngayon, yung mga naghanap ng trabaho, they can actually be earn from being archivists. Local communities, LGUs can do, maski job order, casual, hire. It can be actually a very good entrepreneurial association, movement, group of community archivists, because there's so much to archive, even in doing cultural mapping of local governments, of institutions. Archiving. So, yung alituntunin sa pag-archive, i-upload nyo at please bigyan ako ng memo before your budget is presented.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we had the reason it's not yet on the website is because we just finished the pilot workshops and the revalidation. It was done in Mayaw-Yaw, in Ifugao, and the second one was done in Vigan. No? Sa Vigan, in Vigan. So we're now using the results of that. We're inputting it into the manual. No? And then we hope to continue. That's why we're asking an additional 700,000 for this project, no? Because it was not included in our budget. We had been requesting this for 2 years already.
You've been requesting 700,000 for 2 years? I would have given it if I knew about it last year.
Yeah.
Don't say that. I'm very supportive. If you had communicated that clear, that you needed 700,000, what is the 700,000 for Vegan and for Mayoya, or
This
for IEC all over the country?
For additional workshops.
Yes, huh?
For additional workshops.
Okay. So I request you to memo me on alituntunin sa pag-archive. Pangalawa, i-upload nyo by September sa inyong website para yung hindi maka-access sa inyong workshop ay matutong mag-archive. At pangatlo, that is granted effective immediately.
Thank you.
Please do not say for 2 years I did not grant that. Had I known, I would have given it because I'm a believer in archive material.
Thank you.
So, just kindly explain to us. So, in your memo, when you give me the breakdown of that, where will it be used? Who will teach? How will it be taught? how do you select with the 1,634 local governments? How can the 700,000 fit into that? Do you go just Manila, Cebu, Davao? How will you do it?
Pretty
You know-
much how you described it, but precisely the rest, the other areas will be served by when we upload the manual.
Sure.
No?
Yeah, my suggestion is you upload not just written form, someone who can best explain it as if you were there. So anyone who has access to internet, which is everywhere, and we have free Wi-Fi already in public areas, even while in an airport, people can just look at their smartphone, how to archive. Ay, ganito pala, itatago ko nga ito. Ay, using ko ng ganun, ganun. Make it be, let it be an everyday thing, knowledge for people.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it doesn't have to have too much travel, hotels, pakain, merienda, workshop, which is good. Iba pa rin yung face-to-face, pero hindi natin kaya ang buong Pilipinas at lahat ng LGU. So, isama nyo yung workshop in areas that you select at maglagay tayo, maliban sa written, ng instructional. You can be the archive star in your, you can have a YouTube channel, no? Sa inyong website, ilagay mo, search sa YouTube, how to archive Ino Manalo. Paliwanag mo ng maliwanag. Maikli lang. Maikli oras eh. At mga millennial, di ba, ang kanyang attention span. Kami sa TV noon, ang a segment is not longer than 8 minutes. So it should not be longer than 8 minutes.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Only if you agree, you know.
Yeah. That sounds great.
Yeah, that's your field.
Now,
You know.
it's good to have it also done like a demonstration.
Ah, yes,
or
yes,
like
I would like that.
an
In fact,
iPodcast.
may I suggest, we have so much archival material. Can you do one in San Jose Antique, if I may suggest, the Kinaray culture?
Yeah, we
So-
could do that.
So identify, please, in your, but it's already granted, in your letter to me, what are the LGUs that will be covered by this? So you can do Davao.
Usually
in Mindanao.
we dovetail it to places that already have things that the National Museum has declared, for example, a national cultural treasure. So in Antique, we're looking at Anini'i.
Anini'i, very good.
So
Okay.
that it can
The
sort of
Anini'i Church is
complement.
being, tapos na? It's being done. Nakita ko, nagpunta ko noong Holy Week, the rehabilitation is being done. Let's be very careful, please. You know what I did? I visited the churches and I called all the parish priests because maraming kulay. Tinatakpan nila yung mga ano.
And,
Minsan yung adobe, ganun, paano ba yun? Pinipinturahan nila. Sabi ko, kung bakbakin nyo yung pintura, ano kayang itsura? Mga bricks po, di ang ganda. Mga adobe o coral, ay di ang ganda. Hindi luma na, hindi maganda na yung luma. Ganun, paano ba sila? Ganun. Hindi ko sasabihin kung sino at kung saan, pero mamaya lilista ko. Nung Holy Week, nag-ikot ako sa mga Simon. Pinipinturahan ng makapal na pintura, tapos pink, blue, yellow, green, ice cream. Paano ba yun? Gusto natin bakbakin at ipakita. O protection naman, iba yun. Parang yung ginawa niyo sa Zamboanga. Alala mo, there was a controversy about that, but only because that's needed. Plastering. Hindi pwede naman. Anyway, sige. So that 700, just tell us which LGUs, kindly include Anini'i, that's good, and in other areas that you deem fit. I'll even increase that because I like that. Importante yun eh. Pero do the online na para hindi ka na mapagod magbiyahe na magbiyahe.
Yeah. And then we'll coordinate also with the with the NCCA. They're doing cultural mapping. We're requesting that the results of this, you need to keep the results somewhere. That should be in a local archive. So for our last slide, please.
May I, before we proceed,
Yeah.
may I request the NCCA to also submit to us all local governments, jurisdictions that have cultural mapping already. Even before the time of Cherio, kasaysayan ng anong nasa inyo na may cultural mapping. At ano pa ang balak nyo hanggang 2022 na cultural map nyo, na imamapping nyo. I'm sure we have, Cherio, an archive of all culturally mapped local governments, areas.
Yes, we have a record.
You have a record.
You have a record.
You have a record of those areas, but how about the output of the mapping?
We have.
You should have
We
it.
have. We have.
And that should actually be archived, output, the cultural
Sure.
mapping, part of the local archives. Okay, anyway.
Actually, now that you mention it, maybe perhaps we can plan our workshops and trainings together.
Just
Definitely.
an estimate. How many cultural maps do we have of how many LGUs in NCCA?
Madami na yan.
Hindi panahon ni Cherry lang. Parang before pa Chair June bago. Ilan ang naka-archive? Miss Taliano, Ichu. Kung naalala mo lang. Kung hindi, i-report mo na lang sa office. May idea ka, 1,000, 10,000, ilan? O 10 lang ba? Naku.
You do cultural mapping in all the places. You do heritage festivals, di ba? There's always kasamang cultural mapping.
Kasi I know that Professor Eric Cerudo does cultural mapping, but there's only one Eric Cerudo. But I am certain, and he has the results of his cultural mapping. I know you have many others, like Eric, who do the cultural mapping for NCCA. So I can ask Eric to lend or to give NCCA the output of his cultural mapping because it actually belongs to the LGUs he worked for. Ipapaalam lang niya para to share with the library or the archives of, hindi naman idadabot yun eh. For example, yung Giwan Samar na mayor, yung Taal Batangas, mga kaibigan ko lahat yun. They would be so happy to share the output of their culture, what they call the output of the cultural mapping, cultural map. The cultural map with the NCCA. So, I'm instructing my staff now. No, kayo na lang, kilala mo si Eric, di ba? Pero, i-endorse mo, sabi mo akong nag-request, nag-utos. I-share niya.
Actually, ma'am, si Eric din yung ginagamit namin sa...
Ayun ang mahirap. Si Eric, isa lang Eric sa mundo. Kailangan meron tayo 100 Eric.
Kaya nga dun sa aming bagong plan, ang aming bagong plan is that we will organize several teams of trainers para umikot, to be trained by Cerudo, iikot sa buong Pilipinas for cultural.
Panahon pa ni Brother Armin Luistro, 5 taon, nakaraan, umupo kami sa Polo Club with Eric. Eric was, and I provided the funds. I don't know what happened. Can you find out from DepEd? Yan. Panahon ni Brother Armin, he was so interested, and I gave the funds for Eric to train our teachers. There was a MOA with DepEd, and funds were downloaded to teach the teachers, regional, provincial, etc., for cultural mapping. Ang may alam niyan si Asek Umali. Can you find out what happened to the funds? That was 3-5 years ago. Nakakainis. Ang dami binibigyan na punto.
Sa aming bagong plano, ganun din. Mga
Ganun.
teachers din yung
Ayun na nga eh.
kukunin.
Actually, bagong lumang plano. Kasi nagpunto na ako niyan, maybe 4 years ago, panahon ni Brother Armin. Can I request Ichu and Cherio to find out, help us na lang, from ASEC to Nisito Umali. He knows that. He's still an ASEC there. Ano nangyari sa pondo? Magkano yon? Nasaan yung mga teacher na na-train nila? Para at least, I don't know how many, 50, 100 million ang binigay ko dun eh, for training for the whole country. What happened to the money? And where is the output? The teachers were supposed to have been trained. Kung hindi man natuloy si Eric, dapat natuloy sila. Sino nag-train sa kanila? Saan yung output nila? Ano yung mga, I don't think it's mapping for LGUs, but it's teaching the teachers to be cultural mappers. Very good. So please continue that. Please give me a report based on DepEd's report. What did they do with the money? What happened to the MOA? Kung na-report sa treasury at hindi nagawa, buti na lang kaysa nasayang. But please continue what you said so that we will have 100 Erics.
And
Yeah.
also that where are the results now? Where are they archived?
So, and then second, you have your own cultural mapping because I know there are many others who do cultural mapping. May pari pa kayo, di ba? Gumagawa ng culture. Father, marami. So, duplicate the Father Harolds and the Erics. Teach people to be cultural mappers and cultural workers. And then, get from Father Harold and Eric and all the cultural mappers a copy of their cultural maps. Hindi nila dapat ipagdamot yun dahil I'm sure they're more than willing to share it. Tapos, mag-create kayo or baka meron na kayo ng library or archives of cultural maps. Na? Meron na. existing?
What we do is we give the, like for example, we completed the one of copies, so 17 municipalities and city. So we turned over to them the output, but we
But you
also
also have a
our
copy.
own
Good,
copies.
that's how it is. Sige, very good. No, just stay there, Ichu. So that,
So my
kasi
very last-
hindi naman tayo solo-solo ng agencies, we're cross, yeah.
My very last slide is we're requesting.
Oh, sorry. So, you're correct. Wherever there is cultural mapping or festivals, then you have your archive workshop. So you will do a digital version and you will have face-to-face of selected LGUs.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Can you please do Antique? My request for Kinaraya culture.
As I said, we were considering Aninii.
Anini, very good.
Because it's-
Yes.
there's an
And
NCT.
isama na rin nyo, if you did copies, I'm sure may cultural map na rin ng Iloilo, isama nyo yung 18 municipalities ng Antique. So we have Aninii, what do you call it, workshop, archive workshop, and we have cultural mapping for Antique.
For
Yeah,
that
so-
matter, ma'am, siguro may I suggest that even the training being done by the library can be incorporated with the...
Yes. The library also has
Yes.
workshops. In fact, I'd like to learn. Tanong mo sa staff ko, saan si Catherine? Bookbinding, yeah. Staff ko, para akong librarian. Ano, pag weekends, mas linggo, yun na lang day of ko, Sabado I work. Sa library ko, tas yan, may pangalan pa ako, travel, o climate, super librarian ako. Archivist librarian, you go, hindi ako nagbabula. Talagang lahat. At nainis ako pag mali, textiles, o ba't mali ito, ilalagay ko dyan. Yung gusto ko magtrabaho dito. So, could I ask National Library Director Cesar, just like Director Ino will give me a copy of alituntunin sa pag-archive, bigyan din niyo ako ng alituntunin na maintindihan ko ha sa library. Just like he will upload his training workshops, okay? So we will have the archive star and the library star. So Ino and Cesar, you're gonna have a YouTube show, okay? No, you have to share your knowledge, the technical people. Assistant Director Edgardo, are you a career? Matagal na po kayo dyan. You know what I mean? Sige. So, you do it individually in your respective websites and then do your own YouTube channel or your own links, not more than 8 minutes, sort of the attention span of people. And that should be done, uploaded, before I defend your budget in October. Then, I'm sorry, if it's not included in the library budget, I take note of the suggestion of the NCA chair, the workshops should be back-to-back, library and archives community workshops. Is it in your budget, library? It is in your regular budget. I don't have to augment it or amend it. Nandyan po.
Ma'am, yung aming proposed
Community
budget
workshops.
is targeted into specific areas.
No, my only question is, the community workshops like archives, because sinabi ni Cherio, meron din pala kayong mga teach-ins at community workshops, meron po kayo sa regular budget.
Opo, pero limited number lang po yung na plan.
That's fine. Kamukha sila 700,000. Can you align with each other so that the workshops are back-to-back, archives and library? And that's how it should be. Our cultural agencies should converge and hindi kanya-kanyang cubicle, kanya-kanyang yung mga ginagawa niyan, yung mga wini-workshop ni library at saka ni archives ay dapat minamap naman ni NCCA. Ha? At meron naman festival, si ganyan. Alam mo yung ibig sabihin? Ha? At may festival si CCP. O sige. O, Ino.
Na lang to. Right now, we need to already start our recommendations for electronic records management, and we'd like to request for an additional 905,000 to do training of trainers and to train people abroad, because we absolutely have no training for electronic records, but we need to already do this. We're already getting left behind. Other countries already have electronic records policies. The Philippines still does not. We've been coordinating with the Department of Technology, but we all acknowledge that we need more training in this.
It's part
It's not. Well, it was not included in our budget. So this is additional.
While stenographers, could you, all the amendments that you wish, I'm not promising but it's good it's brought to my attention. Can you please put it in soft and hard copy, duly received by my office? Thank you. And just for the record, according to Vice Governor Denosta, back to Antique, bidding for the new legislative building will be this month, September, starting tomorrow. All occupants of the old legislative building, which is the heritage site. May I know the name of the architect? It was, when I went there, you named it was, it's, text it to me. Why are they so slow? Can you call them? Why are they so slow? Huh? Oo nga, alam nila yun eh. All occupants of the old building will be out by October. Architect from NHCP. Sino pa NHCP? Dr. Escalante. Meron na pala eh. The architect from NHCP gave a plan for the old building to the architects of Region 6 DPWH.
Yes,
Yun,
madam.
importante.
Yeah. We submitted already our plan.
Oh, yun. Okay, then bidding of the old building will be in October, November. Yun lang ang habilin ko po. Nandun ko linigay ang pondo kasi sabi ng LBR mo, kailangan ma-construction DPWH. Hindi ibig sabihin sila ang mag-iisip at taste nila. Please, hold their hand. Huh? NHCP and National Museum, hold their hand to make sure it's not, sige. Okay. Thank you, Ino. So, you will have your community workshops. Kindly include the LGUs, and it can even be more than 700,000. Basta mayroon kayong absorptive capacity. Do you have the people to go around? Baka I'll give you more.
We do. Yes, we do.
Kaya tapos i-align nyo with National Library. Magkano ba ang pondo ng library? If you're not ready to answer it now, you check para i-back-to-back nyo. Isang biyahe na lang. Yung tao yung pupunta doon sa Vigan, yung pupunta ng San Jose, may library training, may archives training. Isang biyahe na lang.
We'll do a pilot first of the integrated workshop. No?
Saan ang magandang i-pilot nyo?
Maybe we can do Anini.
Sige. Sa Lunes, magpunta na kayo. Sige. Okay. So, Monday, Monday, you'll go to Anini, National Library, will conduct its first workshop. Mag-hire ka doon ng video at saka photo kasi narito ako sa budget here. As if I was there, I want to see how it's conducted. And maybe, what you should do, yung actual on-site, kasi naka-studio kayo mag-YouTube, yung actual on-site workshop nyo, fini-film nyo. Diba? Ang ganda. O parang sa Instagram, yung galing, lang, fini-film nyo, i-YouTube o IG nyo, pero IG mga 1 minute lang eh. Or, i-Facebook live ninyo. O di mapapanood ko kayo dito. Diba? O yan na. So, i-upload nyo sa website yung dalawa, yung alituntunin na 8-minuter, but do it next week. Try Anini for your integrated. Hindi pa lang magkamali. Hindi naman namin alam kung paano. We wouldn't know whether it's right or wrong. So, and then, i-Facebook live ninyo ang inyong ginagawa. Ayan. And make it SOP that library and archives go together, and where there is internet, you do Facebook live. And then we announce it through the cultural agencies, a website, and text brigade, etc., so that we're talking here about cultural mapping. One of our cultural warriors who really did wonders for Iloilo, Senator Gilon, thank you for joining us here. Yeah.
I'm your follower.
I do. Sige na, interesting because I'm sure you were probably watching in your room because you have monitors. We've been talking about cultural mapping, about giving community workshops to teach communities how to archive and how to do library science, and then cultural. Has the city of Iloilo been mapped? I'm sure, and Iloilo province and all its local governments. You might want to make that your amendment in case there is no mapping of all the LGUs of Iloilo.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm glad to be able to help the cultural community. And I am here because I have one advocacy which I discovered over the weekend.
What is that?
And this is outreach programs to enable our people in the provinces to rekindle and strengthen their cultural ties.
Exactly. I'm so happy. It's serendipitous. That's exactly what we've been talking about for the last 2 hours.
I have not watched it, but,
Okay, it's
that's
exactly what
emailed
we've
to
been
me.
talking about.
Because let me relate to you what I did over the weekend, and Executive Director Badoy and Dr. Rene Escalante were there. For the first time in the history of Iloilo, I brought at my personal expense, together with the help of one businessman, one or two, including the Metrobank Foundation, I brought the 55-piece Manila Symphony Orchestra, and they played in a 250-year-old Bolo church. And I'll show to you. Huh? Yeah, it's on.
Sort of the NSO
Yes,
in Molo Church.
In Molo Church.
Why didn't you invite me?
Because I am not yet at your level. When I get to your level, I will invite you. I only invite plebeians like Executive Sara Badoy and Director Rene Escalante. I'll show to you. Sandali, hanapin mo nga yung dito. Yung church, Bolo Church.
O gagayahin natin
No. First, I'll describe it. And then I'll go to what I'm here for. You know, I had 2 concerts on a Friday night and on a Saturday night, totally free of charge. And you can imagine, Manila Symphony Orchestra, sa mga probinsyano, highfalutin yan. Naku, symphony yan. Paano naman ma-appreciate yan? But I tell you, you know, in the first night, and these guys were there, about 2,000 were there, inside Molo Church.
Ang capacity ng Molo Church?
750.
Pinagkasya mo ang 2,000.
Nilagyan ko ng mga white chairs. 2,000, you know, my staff is looking at it. Kay Gino, galing kay Gino, yun. Number 2, the second night was in the Iloilo Convention Center. I had about 2,007 audience, half of whom were students. And you were just talking about workshops. The MSO had a workshop for students, 150 room full of students, so interested in what the MSO is all about. So I was so encouraged that ito pala, these people are just so hungry of being able to enjoy our music. And it is for that reason that I am here, because a cultural center, si Nick ito, I know this guy, mas magandang lalaki ito nung bata pa. Nung tumanda na. Look at that. And then do you know, ayan, si Dick Badoy. When the Manila Symphony Orchestra played Hey Jude, really? When the orchestra played Hey Jude, no, it was, the title of the concert was From Bach versus Beatles. Bach versus Beatles. In other words, we had about 4 or 5.
Dadaling ko yan sa...
Teka muna.
Sige na. Okay na.
No, 4. We had 4 Bachs and about 4 or 5 Beatles. One of them, about an hour and a half non-stop. And can you imagine, Lauren? Nearly 2,000 people in Molo Church and 2,700 people in the convention center singing together. Yes, Hey Jude.
Ano bang tono ng Hey Jude? Kantay mo.
Hey Jude. Yeah. Everybody. No. Wait, let me finish.
Parang anong tono mo?
Okay. So, anyways,
Naka-Facebook Live tayo.
safely speaking, the reason why I came here precisely to share with you my experience is the need outreach program. And we should be conscious about that. Now, okay, Director Barnes is here. We are, we are renovating Care and Company. We are building COA building, Elizalde, with the Iloilo Prison House. All these three will become museums. And we will have 3 museums in Iloilo. And then I opened an esplanade, a new extension, and we will have something like Montmartre in Paris, where we will have artists, Ilonggo artists, di ba nagpo-portrait doon? We will have a Saturday afternoon. Wala. O sige, oo. No, sige, sige, the antique, sige. Basta, we will, no, I'm not kidding. We will have an artist village. On Saturday afternoons, we will have this artist just develop a version of what they have in Paris, wherein the artists would paint portraits, and then we'll have a little band which will play on Saturday afternoon. We have a stage there. You saw it. So we will have that kind, and I'm all doing this in my, private capacity.
That's the mandate of all these agencies, and they should actually do it.
Well, yes, and that's why probably the cultural center. Nick, is the Philharmonic is with you? Oh yes. Huh? Can you do an outreach and try?
We have been doing outreach. Bigan, Baguio, Pangasinan. I even brought the Philippine government Green Hills, and Mrs. Drilon was there.
Where?
So Green Hills.
I'm talking about a 55-piece
orchestra, huh? Yes, orchestra, the whole orchestra. And we've been to Batangas, we've been to different places.
Can you
Davao.
Since, that's the Holy Land. Let's not use. They're entitled to it. They're the Holy Land. There's entitlement in this universe. But seriously speaking, can we sit down with you and examine a part of your outreach program?
Please.
Sir, have it in the budget. Because in my private capacity, I will bring and I will negotiate with Manila Symphony to bring it to Bacolod, which is also longing for this. I'll tell you off the record na lang. I'll tell you how good I felt. Sige, put it on the record. Just to tell you how good I felt. After the Molo concert, a businessman who has, who's not from Iloilo, but maintains a series of franchise. He's a franchisee. I will not mention the company. After the concert, he approached me. I do not know him. Mr. Senator, in your next cultural presentation, I'm good for 500,000 pesos. Just sitting down there, lumapit. So sinasabi sa akin, I'm good for 500,000 pesos. That is why I did not expect it. That's why I'm so happy that I was able to do it. Siguro, when you are 72 years old, you try to look back and see, tama na yung pangluloko kay Loren, gagawin ko naman ang para sa bayan.
Ano? Anong
Tama ang linuloko ko si Loren palagi.
Anong
Gagawa.
loko?
Hindi, yung linuloko kita.
Hindi. They not misconstrue it. Biro.
No, biro, yes.
Biro. They not misconstrue. They don't know. We were always kidding each other.
So anyway, so that is why, that is why I am here precisely to share this experience with the cultural group and also appeal that maybe we should be conscious of the need to expose our people outside of Metro Manila to this aspect. I'm glad that the NHCP has been very active in restoring all of these historical monuments. They're very good, and so I hope that's why my purpose in attending this is to share with you that private sector, and I did it not as a senator, but in my private capacity. I was able to do it, and I was able to encourage one businessman to help me, and the Metro Bank Foundation, just the three of us, myself, a businessman in Iloilo, and Metro Bank Foundation. The three of us put our money, our resources together, and we brought a 55-piece symphony orchestra, which was well received. Now people are looking forward to the next presentation. That's why.
Does Philharmonic do that?
We do. We have been to different places. We've been to, Baguio, Vigan, and I brought them 77-piece, 90 people to Green Hills itself.
Alam mo, Nick,
Nasa
dito
Green Hills.
maraming mga
Distraction
opportunities.
Yes, ma'am.
Opportunities.
So-
But in fact, the Jesuits in Mary the Queen talked to me. Pwede ba sa piyesta ng whatever, I can't remember anymore. Can you also bring the symphony orchestra and let them play in Mary the Queen? Because, ipakita mo nga kay Nick Lisaso, ipinakita mo sa akin so that he will appreciate what I'm talking about. Yes.
Senator,
Yes.
our outreach program has been in existence for more than 40 years. In fact, we've been bringing our major groups, resident companies all over the country as much as our budget could allow. Last year, we brought the Philippine Philharmonic 70-piece to a small town in Negros. And
Nadala nyo na ba sa Iloilo? Hindi pa.
sa Iloilo, nakapunta
hindi
sa
pa.
Iloilo. They have been there during APEC last year.
During APEC last year?
Yes, they were there.
Anyway, sige.
Yung buong,
Acknowledge,
ano,
sorry, may just acknowledge Senator J.V. Ejercito.
Sige.
Yes.
If you were there pala, can you at least, I started it on my own expense. Can government now come in and do its share?
Can you please give us, we just finished the archives budget, but let's go now to CCP. Can you just tell us for the rest of the year, the last quarter in your 2017 budget, what are the outreach concerts that Philharmonic is doing or CCP is doing, and what do you have for 2018? We just finished the budget of archives. No, we were in the library budget. Where was I? Wala, pagkakatapos ng archives. Okay, so let's go now to CCP.
Ma'am, since we are about the Philharmonic, I bring the Philharmonic to the Cancer Society at PGH every year. And in January, it will be for the cancer patients. In January, that will be the fourth time. We do go out and share the beautiful music of the Philippine Philharmonic. Please, you're invited on September 15th. We have the best Philharmonic. At the Cultural Center, September 15, we have a very good program at the Cultural Center. Please.
with regards to question about yung outreach ng PPO, usually we are able to travel the PPO only if we have like a private partner because it takes, because of the scale of the group in terms of airfare and accommodation.
How much does it cost?
We have to, of course, figure in, factor in airfare if it's outside of Manila.
Sige.
70-piece yung
How much will it cost? Assuming, let's say, we bring the PPO, like Senator Drilon bought the MSO to Molo Church. If we bring the whole PPO to Iloilo, how much will
usually
it
it would cost around more than $1 million to $2 million just to bring them to
Okay, so
outside of
can we
Manila.
budget that for next year? Can we have the PPO in Iloilo?
What we would need additional budget, because right now the budget that we have for the PPO is just enough for their season
Yes,
here.
we will.
Precisely as I said, your outreach programs. It's very good, I tell you. And by the way, we did not charge a single peso for that.
Okay, so immediately, please input it in your budget for our amendments. Para sulit na yung airfare, you will do a PPO concert on Arts Month in February in Molo Church and in Aninii Church, because the Aninii Church is by December will be done. So it will be the launching.
Maybe in the ICC, it's difficult to deal. Dumami po yung puti ng buhok ko doon sa Paris Priest doon. So, kilala ni Director Boy. Sa ICC na lang, bigger capacity. Convention Center.
Yes. No, I leave it to you where you want. I want the ICC in Antique. So it's the ICC in Iloilo and Aninii Church. Yes. So that CCP.
Dapat pa kondisyon mo sa kanilang ni church, di maganda kung hindi kondisyon.
Kaya ba niyong i-aircon, NHCP? Ha? Pero kasi it's a heritage site, no? Kaya bang aircon doon, magkaka-wiring and all of that? Hindi, ibig
250-year-old church, kaya.
So kaya hindi masisira yung structure, yung adobe?
Hindi, baka masira yung sa antique, talagang luma na yun eh.
Yan ang ibig sabihin
Antique
binibiro.
talaga, antique.
Yan ang ibig niya sabihin, pag niya ako binibiro, he kids me all the time. No? Anyway, sige. Could you please check the Aninii Church? I will earmark my amendment for the aircon for next year. Then you will have the ICC para isang biyahe na lang yung PPO for the budget nyo next year, Iloilo, and then Aninii Church. So you work together. Pero i-aircon natin yan, put it in your budget.
Pwede? Total, I have started it on my own account. The government now should share.
Of course. And then, what we could do is, when we have that twin concert in Panay, we will also have a community workshop for archives and library. No? So teach-ins and workshop for archiving and for library science. But, pupunta pa rin kayo sa Monday. Yung integrated nyo sa Monday, your integrated workshop will be like a trial run, a pilot, until you perfect. You do it next week. It will be good. And I'd like to see the video. And you can do it Facebook Live so I can watch you while I'm in the Senate. Since we're running short of time, but CCP, have you changed your carpets before your time?
Yes,
yan,
Madam Chair, if I may
siguro
please.
naman. At saka yung grand piano nyo nandyan.
Yes.
Where is Nikki Unya?
Nikki?
Wala si Nikki?
Wala si Nikki right now. She's not around right now.
Tess is there. Okay. I have two classmates here. Si Chris at saka si Tess were my classmates in UP. Oo. Diba?
All right, let me start by focusing on specific programs that you're doing for 2018, but let me preface by saying that last year CCP did more than 800 shows and reached more than 800,000 audiences, both on-site at the main building here at Pasay and off-site, which is in the regions. You might wonder how we are able to do 800 shows when we only have 365 days in a year. The way we do that is we have clustering in terms of festivals, and that's the reason why I'm focusing on the first focus is the festivals that have been continuing and been quite successful in terms of mobilizing audiences. Next slide, please. Of course, one of our landmark festival is Cinemalaya, which single-handedly, practically reinvigorated independent film and the film industry in the Philippines.
Remember, it was a few years ago when you mentioned, or was it, who was the head of CCP then? Dr. Sunico mentioned that, unfortunately, Cinemalaya will take an exit because there's no more private funding. I said, no, that cannot be. And so how much do you need? So we amended the budget to include the budget for Cinemalaya. So whether there's a private funding or not, that has to continue, and it's already in your net budget, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we receive 15 million every year.
1.5.
And that's 1.5. Yeah.
Enough for Cinemalaya.
Well, right now, given that there are other, because of the cost of production that keeps on rising every year, we still need to.
Okay, just please put it every year in your budget.
Yes.
Whatever is needed. So before we put in the budget 2 years ago, it was funded by the private sector?
Now it's fully funded by government.
Now, correct.
Yes.
And government should really spend funds for culture. So before we put in the budget nga, I mean, before I found out that there was a depletion of the budget, it was the private sector just using the CCP venue.
That's right. We were partnering with them in terms of non-cash.
But it's a government project. In short, the author of the Cinemalaya Festival is the CCP.
That's right,
Correct.
yes.
And the private sector simply supported it.
That's
and
right.
when the private sector decided no longer to support it, we took over.
That's
and
right,
it should be
yeah.
all the time, even after my term. And these senators will stay here. Hinahabiling ko na sa inyo na maski wala na ako sa 2019, ipagpatuloy nyo yung ating mga ginagawa dito, ha? Oo, yeah. Okay, sige.
So, of course, next year we're looking at the 14th edition of Cinemalaya, and we're preparing for its 15th edition. And we're happy to say that we'd like to believe that because of Cinemalaya, many other independent film festivals of the similar themes came up this
Are
year.
the Cinemalaya films shown in Cinematheque? Do you collaborate with FDCP?
With Chair Lisa's recent leadership of FDCP, there's much more cooperation right now.
You have to wait for Chair Lisa. Brick Show was very good as well.
During the term of Brickshaw, apparently he had like his own programs, and
Cinematheque was started by Brickshaw, and you mean Cinemalaya films were not made available for Cinematheque?
unfortunately,
Are there rights problems, issues?
no, but unfortunately there was not much communication then between that leadership.
Okay,
and now.
yun ang ibig sabihin, that's why I put you together, and that's why you should all be under one house, the Department of Culture, because so much Cinemalaya, hindi ko lang yung issue lang ng property rights, no? But I think whoever is willing to show them in Cinematheque should be shown.
Yes, in fact, one of the agreements that we had with FDCP, which Chair Lisa heads, is that Cinemalaya films should be included in the Pista ng Pelikulang Pilipino, which gives a nationwide platform and commercial platform for these independent films. So I think this is seriously being considered for next year.
Really, Cinemalaya?
Cinemalaya usually happens first week of August.
Ay, hindi. It's done, finished.
Yeah, it's done. It's done this year.
Can I also request all our cultural agencies to invite all, 24 lang naman kami, all senators, like when I found out the other day that you had something in Vegan, is it Archives, the community workshop, in Kiangan, in Vegan, paalam naman nyo sa amin. We don't necessarily have to go because we're very busy as well, so that we can probably send the staff, or we can inform our friends or leaders in those areas, or we can help you disseminate the information. So, if there's a Philharmonic showing somewhere, if NM always does that whenever we have everything, but I'm not able to go, not just me, everybody. So please let us know. Oh, I didn't even know there was Cinemalaya unless I received the invite, it drowned in my emails. Please. I'm sure pinapaalam niyo sa akin, baka hindi lang ako nakapunta. Paalam naman niyo sa amin, even little things, like the workshops that Ina mentioned, gusto kong malaman gusto namin malaman Natututo kami Ngayon ko lang nalaman, meron siyang ginawang Vegan and Kiangan workshop for archiving. Ang ganda, 3-day, tinuturuan ng mga tao paano mag-archives. Diba? Nakakatuwa. At saka, walang dahilan maging jobless ang mga kabataan, even new graduates. They'd like to learn skills, how to archive. Library science is so important. Sige.
We're happy to report that there was Senate staff who went during the festival, and we gave them like special screenings.
Ayun. Oh.
And then there were about 3 other government agencies who brought their whole executive committees, and we gave them special screenings during Cinemalaya.
Ako pang foreign na ho, baka mayroon kayong pang foreign. Yung mga foreign exhibits, foreign films, yung sa labas ng bansa, ba, hindi ba, biyahe ka?
Foreign trips.
Next slide, please. We have the Virgin Lab Fest, which we do every year. Again, like Cinemalaya, this is highly successful, especially among new upcoming writers and developing new audiences with the theater. These are original one-acts. And
Yung about the Virgin Lab Fest, kasabay ito ng Cinemalaya?
about 1 or 2 weeks before Cinemalaya.
Talagang first time mag-produce.
That's right. First time, one act plays,
In
and so on.
relation to that, is, yesterday or is it today, the PETA is getting among magsaysay. Today, this afternoon. May I know if there is any collaboration or any assistance from any government agency without interfering with them? Are we encouraging this? Just a question.
Yes, we've, in fact, PETA is our long-time partner, and it's a CCP awardee, a Gawad CCP awardee, and right now, next week, we're going to be part of a festival that CCP is doing. The third production of Game of Thrones is going to be part of the
Game of Thrones. Is there actual assistance that we extend to them? Just finding, that's curious.
Right now, no. There is no like actual cash assistance, but there is usually like what we call co-productions. We're bringing the existing productions, and we provide venue grants and venue support.
For example, giving them a free venue in the CCP.
Exactly, that's what we do.
Are they given that privilege?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And then at the same time, we also partner with them for outreach. Like we bring some of their productions to different regions.
Yes, Dr. Escalante.
Yes, Senator, we also funded the Game of Thrones last year. We gave them 1 million. PETA, I'm referring to PETA.
Okay, that's good to
For
hear.
2 showings, yeah.
That's good to hear, yeah.
Next slide, please. Pasinaya is one of our most successful festivals. Again, like Sinimalaya, it's going on 14 years. It attracts more than 50,000 audiences in a single day, and 3,000 artists participate from both amateur to professionals. And this is pay what you can, see all you can kind of. Pasinaya happens at the main building, the whole complex, and it happens during the first Sunday of February to open the February Arts Month. And we cooperate with the other agencies. In fact, it's become an omnibus cooperation project with National Museum, Intramuros Administration. And because of the popularity of Pasinaya, I'm glad to say also that Iloilo brought over the whole Dinagyang to Pasinaya, and we focused one whole festival just on Iloilo arts and culture.
Pasinaya to Iloilo.
That would be a great idea.
Always held in the CCP main building.
The most of the shows are the main building, but we also do shows at the Children's Museum, different Intramuros venues. There are about
What is this? Visual arts and
no, it's everything. So it's like 15-minute shows, very short shows. So everybody gets a chance to go on stage and perform, and people like are going.
We have the facilities with the convention center that we built. The city capacity of 3,000, and you have the Dinagyang Warriors right there.
We would be
rotate, I'm sorry, Pasinaya, so it's not just Manila-centric, but you can do it Visayas, Mindanao.
We would be glad to share the whole template of Pasinaya and even help set it up in the region. So that I think that would be the most ideal, and that's part of the vision, to make Pasinaya not only a metro-wide program, but a whole nationwide program. And it's a great way to celebrate the February Arts Month.
Just like the NCCA's Dayaw is done in different provinces, can Pasinaya be done, be conducted not just in the grounds of the CCP, but umiikot? It can be in Cebu, Davao,
Yes, that's part of the vision, and maybe that's another one thing that we could ask for additional budget for, if to pan it out nationally, especially in specific like regional centers.
What is your plan for Pasinaya in February here in CCP?
For next year?
Yes.
For next year, we're looking at arts and heritage, that we've been in a close talks with Intramuros administration to see if we could use more of its areas in Intramuros for performances, so that it becomes like not only a one-day festival, but a whole two-day festival.
Could you please work closely with Intramuros administration, yes, so that it's not just in CCP and you use the grounds of Intramuros? And yeah, at the same time, National Museum is part of that. Kasama doon, you work together. Very good. So you think it's more practical to always do it in the CCP grounds and the national agencies, cultural agencies in Metro Manila? Or as I said, is it possible that you do Pasinaya? It's like planning for the Olympics. Let the other venues bid for Pasinaya or it's like palarong pambansa, umiikot ang mga venue. Maari ba yun or logistically mahihirapan kayo?
Logistically, medyo mahirap because, our venues for performing arts would need lights, sounds, stage managers, and so on and so
Facilities
forth.
like the ICC has the facilities that CCP can offer, correct?
We can offer the same venue.
What is possible is we could bring the whole idea of Pasinaya to maybe partner with the satellite venues at in Iloilo. Now that I mentioned satellite venues, that's another strategy that we've adopted since the last 10 years. To address the challenge of lack of funds, we've put up like what we call local CCP satellite partners. And so every year we've gone into memorandum of agreements and we keep on increasing the number of these partners. Now we have 30 partners all over the country, and this facilitates exchange, this facilitates mobilization of resources and ensures the participation of LGUs.
Can you please include, and it will be an amendment to your budget, when you open Pasinaya here, let's do Pasinaya in Iloilo in the ICC, assuming that the facilities are capable of housing what you have here. And then, sabayan, magbubukas ang Maynila, ang CCP, magbubukas ang Iloilo, and then Davao. Do we have a Davao Cultural Center? Who's from Davao? Mr. Adriano. Are you from Davao?
Yes, Madam Chair, actually in Davao City, we are slowly bringing down the activities of the NGCA. Just last week, we had Gamaba for us to bring the understanding of the people in the Mindanao about the...
Malilikha ng Bayan.
Yes.
Awards. What do you mean? You have a Gamaba event or
Exhibit.
a Gamaba exhibit?
Yes.
Very good.
The Central Bank Auditorium could be used for this.
Yes.
Or is it Lumana?
This is Central Bank in Davao.
In Davao?
Yes, in Davao.
So do you have...
We have also Philippine Women College who can accommodate activities like
So, gawin natin para may pagbabago. Ayan. Kasi ang kultura ay nandyan sa 10-point socio-economic agenda ni Pangulo. So, hindi lang sa CCP, sa Metro Manila, ang Pasinaya, meron sa Iloilo, kay Senator Drilon, para i-approve kaagad ng minority itong budget natin, may Pasinaya sa Iloilo.
Seriously,
Outreach.
seriously, we will support the budget precisely because there will be a conscious effort to spread out outside of Manila kasi lahat lang dito sa Maynila.
So, first you include Intramuros administration and all the cultural agencies present here today. Second, at the same time that you're launching here, we're launching in Iloilo, at isama nyo syempre ang buong Panay, isama nyo ang Antique para may kinaray culture dyan, may delegation mula sa Antique. Ayan, ang focal person yung teenager sa likod, ha? Kaedad ni President Nick Sasso. Yeah, joke lang. Anyway, tapos Davao, Director Rico can assist you on a venue that's akin to CCP. Okay, nang bahala doon. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yun. So, kaya ba natin, VP Chris?
Oh yes, Madam Chair and Senator, I'd be more than happy to make Iloilo our first pilot program for Pasinaya outside of CC because I'm from there. And
Are you from Iloilo?
yes,
Are you from Moro?
Barotac Nuevo po.
Barotac Nuevo, okay.
Ay, sabay mo na, hindi lang Iloilo, para may Mindanao tayo sa Davao.
Pwede na Iloilo naman, pwede na, sige na.
Hindi, Executive Director, ang tama-tama, Ilonggo, taga-Dabawenyo. Oh, very good. Sige.
Your Honor, more than that, in fact, we have activities of the NCC this coming September 20 to 24, the Budayao. This is a BIMP Iyaga cultural showcase of the member of the BIMP Iyaga, which will be held in General Santos City.
Okay, so we have Manila. I-amend yun sa budget nyo kung kailangan ng konting augmentation because we have Iloilo and Davao. Okay.
I just wanted to also tell you about the Unrevenant Song International Choral Festival. This is the third time we've been doing it. I don't know, but our choral groups have been a source of pride for us. They keep on winning awards internationally. In fact, every time an international competition happens and they find out that a Filipino choral group is joining, immediately they get so scared about pursuing it. So every year we have gold medalists in fact, as we speak, the Philippine Madrigal Singers is now vying for its third championship at the European Grand Prix, which is
is known as the World Olympics for choral singing. If that happens, they'll be the only choir in the world which will have this kind of accomplishment, which makes us the choral center of the world, practically. So, given this, we are now laying claim that we should be the host for the very first Asia Grand Prix. So, in 2019, we've brought in the main festivals organizers all over Asia, and in 2019, CCP will be hosting the very first Asia Grand Prix, 2019. So this is our Andre Venetian Choral Festival, and I'm just like putting it forward because by when it's a bit of budget for 2019, might be asking for additional budget to make this happen, and this will make give us the focus. Now we will be the only 2019.
For next. Okay.
Yeah.
You mean it does not exist? You don't have a choral festival?
No, it happens once every 2 years, so we had one this year. So this is biennial.
year?
When?
Where?
At the CCP.
When was it?
It was in July. Tapos ka na. Can I just make yabang and put it so that everybody can see it? Sige, can you put on the orchestra?
Isang oras kalahati yan.
Hindi. 3 minutes.
Okay.
Baka ngayon ko lang ginawa ito, hindi pa ako pwede ba akong magyabang?
Maganda nga.
Ako ngayon ko lang ginawa, labit siyang mataw na ako sa Senado, ngayon ko lang gagawin ito.
Para sir, dumami pa kayo.
Ha? Ano ba?
Para yung ibang regions magkaroon din ng ganyan.
Marami naman kami sinadari.
Bakit shabu ang pinapakita nyo? Ano yan, shabu eh?
While it's being set up, siguro Madam Chair, I just want to share na PPO has been brought several times, almost every year, to Quezon through the private naman na partnership with Senator Angara. And Baler, yeah.
PPO?
PPO, yes, the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra.
Government funds or private?
Private funds.
Ang ganda ng simbahan.
The sound is not very good. Si Director Badoy at saka si Rene is the lower left end. Enough now, we have delivered the message. Thank you.
The message has reached us. We thank you. No, seriously, we thank you for this, and I'm glad that you brought the issue of outreach. Although we were discussing it before you arrived, now it's really crystal clear in our minds of the need for collaboration and convergence among the cultural agencies and outreach outside of Metro Manila. And so, the amendment of their budget for the PPO to iba pa yung Pasinaya, iba pa yung PPO. Okay. PPO will have the concert in Iloilo? No, for next year. And the Pusinaya to hold it simultaneously in Iloilo and Davao. Correct?
That's right.
And the PPO will have one next year in Iloilo ICC and in Anini Church. Correct? Yes.
That's right.
For the meantime. Okay, thanks. So we're done with your budget. Let me see. Archives.
Next slide,
Cultural
please. I just
Center.
make a few more. I
library.
just wanted to report that CCP Encyclopedia of Philippine Art, which has been 3 years in the making, is now going to be launched next year. It's been postponed for a few months. It has 2 volumes which focuses on peoples of the Philippines, which focus on the different ethno-linguistic groups. It has like an online version which will be made free to all public schools and universities. So this is one big project that we're doing. Next slide, please.
Should donate to the Philippine Senate Library.
Oh, definitely we will do, Madam Chair. And because this is what we're excited about, we've been given a budget by government to put up new buildings. For your information, nothing has been built on the CCP complex since the main building has been put up for the last 45 years. So, and
What is the new building going to have?
the new building, we have a black box theater and what we call an IP center. The black box is a 300-seater meant for different kinds of performances, and the IP center is a complex of different rehearsal halls, almost 40 rehearsal halls meant for music performances, theater rehearsals, and dance rehearsals. The idea is to address the glaring need of our groups. We're bursting with content, but there's no space where artists to develop their ideas.
Architect yun.
Leandro Lexin. We had a competition and they won the design. So next slide, please. So this is the artist.
Also won Cheria, di ba? Our Architecture Biennale.
Yeah. This is the artist center, and one of its main features is a central area where community engages with artists. So right now, artists are not, audiences are not only considered as passive spectators, but they will be allowed to the back spaces so they can be immersed in the process and witness the process of creating art. Next slide, please. This is the Black Box Theater. It's going to be finished by the end of the year. We will have the hard launch of this with its whole season of plays next year. By the way, this Black Box will be merged into another bigger building which is going to be called the New Performing Arts Center. And the BMs told us that the moment we finish the IT Center, they were willing to consider funding the building of the New Performing Arts Center by 2019 to 2020.
The Metropolitan Museum is moving out of the Central Bank and they're moving to the CCP complex. Yes, PICC. Within the building. So they're not, who knows what's happening to the Met?
Yes, no,
Yes.
the new Bangko Central Museum is being built in what used to be the car park behind the PICC. So it's not part of the CCP, it's PICC, Bangko Central property.
So there's a new building being constructed
Yeah.
on the land of the PICC at the back.
Yes, ma'am.
And it will house,
The Bangko Central Museum.
including the Met.
No,
Oh no,
no, the Met is something separate.
I see. Wait, the Central Bank gold will be moved.
Yes.
Why? It's so safe under there.
Well, I think, we're helping them with their curatorial plan. They'd like to consolidate all their collections, including
I
the
see.
gold and the...
Because that
urban
space is
there.
not enough.
No. And include all of their paintings and sculpture.
So there'll be a Central Bank
Museum.
museum.
Yes.
Whose land is that? CCP? Oh.
PICC.
PICC
which
land.
which is owned by...
Then Bangko Central is funding the capital outlay.
Yes.
Okay. How about Metropolitan?
As far as I know, they will remain at the building.
No, they're moving out now.
Yeah, I've heard.
They said they're moving to CCP. Are you familiar with that? No.
The CCP complex.
Complex.
In the complex,
You
so
own the land.
no, we don't own the land where PICC sits, so I think...
I'm not talking about the Bangko Central. The Metropolitan Museum, they said they were moving to the CCP complex. I thought that you had some... No, hindi nyo alam yan. What part of the CCP land?
I know it's behind the PICC that they're building some kind of structure.
Bangko Central yun.
But Chris, that's Bangko Central mismo. The Metropolitan Museum Foundation, I'm not so sure of.
So hindi. They were telling me about they're already building. Baka yun ang ibig Maybe the PSP will bring the Metropolitan with them.
Perhaps. That was not in the original plan, but maybe...
Can you find out?
Yes, sir.
Can you ask Tina Colaiko? She was the one who told me that they are moving to the CCP grounds and they already have the land and there's going to be a building. If CCP does not know about it and there's a BSP museum, it's probably that. Can you ask Tina Colaiko kung yun ba yun? And government should not fund that, right? Because it's a foundation. It's a private foundation. Correct?
The BSP subsidizes the Met because of its
Sure.
premises. Yeah.
Okay, sige. Okay na. 12 noon, we have a 2 o'clock DOJ hearing. Sige. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Have I recognized Senator JV? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just like medyo parochial, I'd just like to ask NHCP, probably Executive Director Badoy or Director Escalante. I'll just show you some slides, Madam Chair and Senator Dillon, of our Museum ng Katipunan, which we built in San Juan. This is the old pictures. No? Anyway, I discussed this earlier before with Executive Director Badoy. Because when I was mayor, during the time I was mayor, we improved the Museo ng Katipunan. Before kasi panay ano lang ho dun eh, panay cardboard, pictures, Xerox, but we slowly got artifacts and other, and we have a diorama no, that we built, you know, just like comparable to Ayala Museum. And for the information of everybody, at that time, because it was featured in a lot of shows, I think we had about 50 to 60 buses every day. No? Students from all over the country, not only Metro Manila, that visits. Yeah, please, Anna. Red na?
Red.
Sorry. Ito yung ano, show you the... Just want to show you the old diorama. I show you. Aba. This is the old, this is the old building, no? Artifacts. This is the diorama itself. Built by, talang artist, if you would look at the faces, pati yung expressions, anguish, Yan, ano to, labor of love, because in public service or in politics, there are only a few who loves history. Probably those three you can see here. Siguro wala pang 5 ang may hilig sa history kasi walang boto rito eh. Diba? Wala ka namang boto rito. So it's not often that you find public officials who really is a lover of history. And recently we just came from parliamentary visit in France with Senator Lauren last year. 2 years ago I went to Turkey with Senator Dillon, and you know what's funny is that they did not build, they just preserved what was there, di ba? So I hope that if we can improve or if we can put more budget siguro on our remaining artifacts, sayang wala yung intermuros dito, no? But Madam Chair, my concern is that when the new City Hall of San Juan was built, we demolished the structure where this museum sits, no? And that was derived from my numipida pa nun eh. It was derived from my allocation then. We built a new structure of the Museum ng Katipunan. The chair at that time was Maris Jokno, with the understanding that all of these artifacts, especially the diorama, which was the main attraction, which attracts about 50 to 60 buses every day, In fact, napapaos na nga yung mga namin doon, guide eh, because talagang tuloy-tuloy. But now, Chairman Jokno had something in mind, no? She did not bring back the dioramas. Instead, she put up computer kasi gusto daw niya maging virtual ang learning. So, it's sad because, museum dapat visual. And yung ground floor, nagmukha tuloy internet cafe because we do not need computers in those, right? So I'm just hoping, Madam Chair, that probably, actually, we have a prior meeting. I hope that we can bring back the diorama because it's so easy, especially for millennials. Alam mo naman mga bata ngayon, tamad na magano, it's so easy to grasp the story. Ma'am, nandyan, we just naka-store, nasa storage po.
So we can have the diorama and at the same time, whether there's something inconsistent.
It's so easy to visualize, lalo for, especially for youth, mga millennials, it will be easy now, no? Kasi minsan tamad na magbasa. Would you go to that? You already learn the Battle of San Juan or the pinaglabanan, which started all the battle. So just like task Madam Chair, so probably Dr. Rene Escalante, can we bring back this one? I don't think this would cost so much, but it will, bring back yung historical sense, especially for the kids right now, for the millennials especially.
Yeah, yes, Senator. In fact, I had already 2 meetings with Mayor Gia to discuss this, and we also discussed DAC. Just for the information of the committee, we have started already building the museo ng El Deposito, and then we are now in the process of bidding out the cleaning of the aqueduct, and hopefully by early next year, we can already go down in the underground. And you mentioned earlier the one in Istanbul. We are taking it as our template, and in
Yes,
fact we might set.
I had the opportunity to visit Istanbul with then Senate President Dulon, no? And we really appreciated it. That's why if there's people here in the Senate who really loves history, it's Senator Dulon and our chairperson here. No? So I'm hoping that whatever artifacts that we still have, or while we can still preserve, we preserve.
Yes.
So I'm very happy that we will be
Once we are done
reviving
with the development plan, remember we will be having enough space because at the back of the Museo ng Katipunan, we will cover it, and then we will have enough space for all of this stuff that you have.
I hope that Dr. Escalante, if we can prioritize, if we can bring back the diorama. I mean, my concern, especially for millennials now, talagang medyo, we have to emphasize and help them, visualize and appreciate history. No? Talagang kulang na kulang yun eh. And with this, it's so easy. And I hope that in other areas also, ang dali i-visualize nito eh. So I hope we can remove those computers. We don't need an internet cafe na museum.
Yeah.
Diba? I siguro yung gusto ni Maris Jokto noon, chairman, that he wanted to go high-tech, but history nga po, we don't have to be high-tech here. We want visuals. We don't have to do it, but, if we can bring that back. Lalo ito, ang request na lang namin, I think Senator Dulo has saw this already, Senator Loren, and they appreciate the importance of the dioramas. And I'm not joking, talagang, Senator Dulo, 50 to 60 buses every day. No? And that's nice, because if all of the public schools, kahit na araw-araw sila doon, at least, diba, nabigyan natin sila ng sense of history.
Once we are done with these 2 buildings, I think the floor area of that site will be doubled or even tripled if you will consider the covered area near the aqueduct.
Masaya na kayo, kasi dapat, Senator Dila has done so much for Iloilo, Labor of History. Nagyabang na siya kasi dapat ipagyabang. Kaya magyayabang din akong konti. This is love of labor of love namin to. No, we only spent about 5 million there before, but we were able to put up a real museum, no? Mga artifacts from resource from all over. So sana we can bring it back. I don't think it will cost so much, diba? We can, and I think that's one of our responsibilities and jobs, no, is to provide funding if needed. And I think pinaglabanan ng Katipunan, the first battle was there, so we have to, hindi naman dahil taga doon ako, but I think for a national interest, I think especially for the young ones now, for millennials, we need to inculcate yung value of valuing our historical where we came from.
We still have plans, Senator, for this, and we can accommodate this in our. So probably one of these days, I will sit down with you and then discuss the development plan for
Well,
this.
that's very good. So we can expect, hopefully, in the next coming years. And I'm very,
within the year, yes, sir.
I'm quite worried because with what is happening now, yung iba na yung naiiba na yung takbo ng our youth, no? Talagang kulang yung ano eh. We need to increase patriotism, nationalism, but yung sense of yung pride, heritage, we have to, kung na-create siya ng interest before, I think it will create now. If be rest assured also that we will support, no? Kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo, tatlo lang dito. Mabibilang sa kamay nga, isang kamay lang ang mahilig sa history dahil walang boto, pero talagang kailangan, importante. Okay, that's all, Madam Chair, ano?
Yeah, well taken, sir.
Yes. So any other agency who has not presented their budget? Or I'm sorry, yes. The National Museum. First, hintayin lang natin si Chair para kung ano man hingin nyo. So, yeah, I hear the Chair already. Sige.
HCP will look into the concern of Senator JV. It's a small matter, and it's not one or the other. Dioramas or interactive, high-tech or low-tech, nasa curator yan. Okay. But you should have, it's your LGU. You should have voiced your thoughts or opinion at the time, and they should... Sure. Okay, fine. So, we are in the Cultural Center, tapos na. Yeah, and we will have Pasinaya and the outreach of the PPO as we mentioned earlier. The library. Let's go directly to your concerns.
Chair,
yes.
may I add something to what we have
Yes,
been
Chair
talking
Dio,
about?
please.
Kasi madaling-daling yung ating mga groups sa regions. Ang problema, walang facilities yung region.
Where applicable lang. At saka binigit natin Iloilo,
We should
ICC.
also encourage the local governments to do something like what Senator Drilon has done to Iloilo, so that we can have a more adequate facility for the arts. Kasi parang basketball court lang lagi yung nandun sa mga regions eh.
A cultural center or a convention center really needs government funding because it is so expensive for the government to maintain these structures. Or no private sector will get into it unless you're a Schumart. Alagang mahal, and it's not commercially viable, so it must be subsidized by government, as usually culture activities are.
Thank you. We proceed to National Library.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Senator Drilon and Senator JB.
Thank you.
First, I would like to introduce myself because aside from being the youngest among the group, I am also the newest. I am Cesar Gilbert Adriano. I am from the Holy Land of Davao, and according to Senator Drilon, and I just assumed office last April. This is my first time to stop here in Senate, and the first time I saw you, sir. I saw you only on TVs, and I just want to tell you, ma'am, that you're so beautiful. And
Sige na nga,
and the most important job you need, ma'am.
Seryoso, salamat. May taste ka. Anong panahon nung nakaraang taon, meron tayong is it the Rizal documents? Meron dyan nakapending sa inyo eh. What is it? Yung very fragile na, then you were asking for a budget and I provided for that. Is it the oldest book or is it documents of Rizal? Ano yun? Alala mo. Was it the Noli?
Yes, ma'am.
Noli and what else?
Lahat ng originals nung nasa amin.
Yun, lahat ng originals ng mga documents ni Jose Rizal. And at that time, you said, may tumutulo, kailangan ng case. That was 1 or 2 years ago. So I would just want to know the status. Not just the Noli, but all other writings. Are you familiar with that? That was an issue that was raised here 1 year or 2 years ago. And I'd like to know, you would remember that. Well, if you don't remember, that means it's probably been solved. I hope it's not been lost.
It's not lost, ma'am. It's there.
Okay.
We keep it. It's safe.
It's in a safe, yeah. The original Noli.
Yes, ma'am.
In a vault. Okay. Sige.
Actually, we put it in a vault, ma'am, kasi under construction yung building.
So the whole National Library is under construction. Good. Rehabilitated.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
And we are on the final phase. So,
Kailan matatapos?
2019,
Matagal pa.
malaki pa ang trabaho.
Okay. Sige, what are your concerns?
Okay. I'm pleased to present to you our proposed budget for 2018 amounting to 336,248. The break the yung retrofitting po ang nakalagay dito.
Capital outlay yung malaki. Ilan ang ating satellite national libraries?
Dalawa po.
Saan?
Sa Balilian, Bohol, and sa Tondo.
Tondo. I didn't realize we had a national library in Tondo.
Congressional Library.
Where?
Malapit po sa...
There is a national library in Tondo?
Opo, this is actually a congressional library as defined in RA 7743.
Pakilakasan po. What's a congressional library? Congressional District Library. What is it?
Supposedly, this is a kind of library established in a congressional district. Ito po yung kasama sa provision ng RA 7743. But we have a very few of them.
How does the Tayuman Library look?
Ano po siya, 3-story building, but in fact, it also houses not just the library, but there is also, one floor is TESDA.
TESDA?
Being occupied by TESDA.
Okay. And then?
The ground floor is the library. And then the second floor is being shared by the library and the community.
Whose congressional district is that?
Kay Congressman Lopez po.
So this was created by legislation that there would be a national library satellite in a congressional district. Ganun ba yun?
Sa ngayon po, ang parang category niya is a congressional library.
But it's being funded by the National Library.
Opo, managed directly by the National Library.
How many of that do you have all over the country?
Sa ngayon po, ang existing, we have the Tondo, we have the Balilihan.
What is the other one?
Balilihan po, Municipality of Balilihan.
Also created by in a congressional district?
Opo, congressional library din po siya.
I didn't know that existed. Tama ba yun?
Wala siya na congressional library sa...
Hindi.
Kulang-kula ko.
Hindi naman kailangan ng ganun eh. Anong itsura? Just kindly send us photos. What books are shared with the congressional libraries?
Ma'am, depende po doon sa community ko ano yung community being served. For example, in Tondo, most of the collection are catered towards the children and age mga 15
Mabuti
and
naman may
below.
ganun. No, sige.
However, yung atin pong Balilihan, it caters to...
Balilihan?
Opo, Municipality of Balilihan.
What does it cater to?
It caters to young and including yung college because they have a college level in the area.
Okay.
So mas malaki po yung scope ng kanyang collection.
Okay. Please proceed. Thank you.
Mamaya po sa slide namin mayroon mga pictures po, but we are happy to send you additional documents because Tondo, for example, is already 10 years old.
Yung highlights.
Okay.
Ano ang mga programa nyo? What are your biggest challenges? Documentation?
Our programs, ma'am, is our collection development. Ito yung mga usual na po. Acquisition of Filipino materials, preservation and conservation, library automation program, streaming library services for persons with print disabilities, establishment and affiliation of public libraries, support and technical supervision. And then, I think this is the most important, the final phase of our project, our structural retrofitting of our building and other affected areas. Those are our highlights, Madam Chair.
And so earlier when we talked about community workshops for training for archives, you said that you also have your training for library. I didn't see it in your budget. Is it there? And how many days is your workshop? And are you able to do that? Yung pinag-usapan natin, I don't have to repeat, but yung pagturo sa paggagawa, sa pag-aral, kung paano mag-ayos ng libro sa library, how do you, it's a science. You can do that, you can have such workshops. You have trainers within the National Library who can actually go out of town and do that with communities.
If I may, Senator, there are two parts. One is the establishment. By law, there are requirements, specifically the persons to be hired by the local government unit must have a degree in library science. In addition to the establishment, it will be our regular activity to provide training in terms of the support we give directly to our public libraries. So this is actually a regular activity of the National Library towards our local government units.
So it's already in your annual budget that you give training assistance,
Opo.
not financial assistance, to local governments to teach them how to maintain their own libraries. And so what Director Ino was talking about, you will work together to have community workshops on this, although you're already doing it regularly. Okay. Okay, I think we're okay with the National Library. NHCP, are we done with you? Not yet. Thank you. The last is NHCP. National Museum pala, hindi pa. Oh, and NCCA, NCFL, ang dami pa pala. Okay, okay.
So while we're waiting for
Yes.
our PowerPoint materials, let me just inform
Hindi na
the
kailangan, just let us know. Yes.
Let me just inform the committee that we are already winding up with our projects in Bohol and Cebu. This is connected with the 2013 restoration of the structures destroyed by the 7.2 earthquake. Last August 14, we turned over already the restored Church of Dawis. And then this coming October 15, there will be a back-to-back turnover of the churches of Luay and then of Carmen. By the way, yeah.
In Bohol.
In Bohol, in Bohol.
Is it? Di ba luwa yung...
Lubog yata yung... Hindi po. Hindi po. Yeah. So, October 15 is the 4th anniversary of the earthquake. So we'll be turning over the Luwai Church and then the Carmen Church. And then towards the end of the year, December 7, we'll be turning over the Baclayon and then the Inabanga churches.
Baclayon was already restored, fully restored?
We're still doing the ceiling painting because we restored it and we commissioned Willie Ryan to do it for us. And then the last church that we will be turning over will be the Tubigon Church, and this will happen sometime in February.
What is the Abot Church? So Abot, nasan yun? That's in Cebu?
Yeah.
St. Anthony in Cebu?
Yeah. This in Carmen, Cebu.
What is San Isidro?
In Bohol, I mean.
What is San Isidro? Saan ang San Isidro?
Sa Tubigon po, sa Tubigon.
In Bohol?
In Bohol.
Your Anini Church will be turned
Yeah, will be
over
turned within the year.
in
so,
December. Is
by
there
December.
any other church in Antique that you're doing?
Na the ruins of Patnawan, we're also in the process.
How come it's not there? When are you turning it over? It's ongoing?
Yes, it's still ongoing. So, within the year po,
I have not
we'll be
seen the
done.
ruins of Patnongon.
Yeah, we had some problems there in the past because of the legal issues that hunted us. Because the judge issued us a TRO because the adjacent lot was allegedly land grabbed by the LGU from a private individual.
But
So
you
we have to-
resolved it?
Yeah, we resolved it already a month ago. So we are now we'll be pushing through with the project within the year.
So Patnongon ruins and the Anini
And of course, the provincial capital. Yeah,
in the provincial
the
capital?
provincial
The old
capital.
provincial capital?
Yes.
Are there other churches there that should be conserved?
We haven't received any
Are there any other churches apart Anini only?
yeah.
Yun lang, wala na. Okay. Is there any
Sa Filipina.
Hindi makikita, masyadong maliit. No. So in Iloilo, we have-
Malabon? I remember we talked about it last year. There was a San Bartolome. Oo, San Bartolome in Malabon. Right, Chirio? It was discussed 2 years ago or last year. It was in the budget. What happened to it? Hindi ko nakita dyan.
it was not included in our budget,
Ay,
madam.
hindi. Present nyo yun. I remember. It's a heritage site. If I'm not mistaken. Or it was in the process of being named. Is the San Bartolome Church in Malabon a declared NHCP site? Narinig ko sa inyo yun eh. Or under National Museum ba yun? Baka I'm mistaken.
Probably it's not under. Do we have? Yeah, we don't have any project in Malabon as to this moment.
Can you check? It's a centuries-old church. One of the oldest churches. I think the oldest in Metro Manila. Sa inyo ko natutunan yun eh. I'm from Malabon. Hindi ko pa nakikita yung simbahan na yun eh. Can you check? San
Yeah,
Bartolome.
we look into that. madam.
Bartolomeu in Malabon. Baka panahon ni Maris yun.
I see.
Siyang nagsabi.
We'll check
Nasa
our
list-
records.
Baka si Jeremy. Remember, you were here with Maris and part of her list of churches included the San Bartolome Church in Malabon. Or is it under National Museum?
No, I remember.
We remember discussing it.
I remember the discussion, but I don't remember Malabon Church being in the list, ma'am.
But there was a discussion, and she brought it to my attention, and I said, "Oh, I didn't realize it's a heritage site. Can you check if it's in your list of heritage
Yes,
structures?"
yes. According to my deputy,
Oh,
yeah.
see?
It is a declared church.
It
So
is
both of them.
declared, and it was in the plan of Maris at the time, and I was excited. That was 2-3 years ago. Ibig sabihin, hindi nyo tinuloy siguro yung pag-fund. Sayang. Ilagay nyo sa 2018 nyo.
Yeah, we look into that.
It's a heritage site, eh.
Yes,
Sayang.
Yan, Senator Legarda, look at that.
Yeah,
Ang ganda
just to
naman.
show you some.
Bakit puro kay Senator Delon ang inyong ginagawa?
We have related, but we have a lot of projects all over the country.
Napansin ko eh, puro Iloilo lang yan.
Excuse me.
Paano naman ang Malabon at saka San Juan?
Excuse me. We spend our own funds.
Yeah.
So, tingnan mo yan. Now, this is called an old Goa building. But this is actually it's Housty and Company. It's Housty and Rizalde. This is one of the old trading houses that was established at the turn of the 20th century when Iloilo became a sugar trading center. And the British trading houses established two trading centers. You have the Care and Company and the Housty and Company. If you siguro ito si Nick, alam niya, you know what ECO stands for? ECO basketball team. It was a floor wax. Ilosaga, do you know why there is a Housty? Because they are an old Basque. Elizalde and Chowsti were Basque families who settled in the Philippines. And this established a beautiful building. This will become now a museum.
Museum of Economic History.
Yeah, we funded that to the tune of about 50 million, no?
And then the convent of the Santa Barbara Church will be putting up an ecclesiastical museum. I talked already to the...
You've settled your problem with
Yeah. In our last visit, we were able to settle our differences. So we'll be putting up an ecclesiastical museum in Santa Barbara Museum, and the collections of the Archdiocese of Harrow will be displayed in that museum.
So they will also redo the customs house. Yeah, no? Look at this, ma'am.
So this is the customs house.
Customs house building. Yes, this is... Teka, yung bahay na ba ito, hindi po saan sa Iloilo?
Sa San Jose.
Sorry. No, anyway, let me finish it. This is one of just...
Maliit ng litrato, hindi ko naman makita
This is...
Pag nag-present kayo, I'm sorry, lahat ng mga agencies, yan ang kulang ninyo. Yung, ano ba? Visuals. At saka ang liliit ng salita, ang liliit ng mga numero. How can we appreciate? Ganda naman yung
Never mind, kahit maliit ang numero, basta malaki ang pera, okay na sa akin yan. Alright, this is the old customs house, Madam Chair. This is just one of the 3 buildings in the entire country. One in Manila, one in Cebu, and pinatay pa nila ulang kaya. Talagang galit si Lauren sa akin. Well, hindi, pinatay yung tao mo yung... They put off while I was describing the picture.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, one of the 3
Sounds beautiful.
custom houses, similarly built. One in Cebu, one in Manila, one in Iloilo. These were the imports at the turn of the century, which were international ports. That is why they built one in Cebu. So these are one of the 3 buildings in the country, and we are renovating it. Unfortunately, during the time of Feldon, he was so uncooperative. But anyway, we have already... So we're proceeding with that, no? What was the senator, the UP Visayas? The UP Visayas also, Lauren, huh? Where there is this old sculpture there is done by, who's that Italian? Monti, who was also the architect of some of the buildings here in Manila.
Yung mga statua sa
Yung
UST.
statwa sa
UST.
UST.
Yeah, on top of the building.
Ang gaganda niyan. So, good, we're renovating that. And then what else?
Yeah, the Molo Church, we're about to finish it. Yeah.
When will you finish that?
Yeah, within the year. The structural will be finished within the year. The ceiling painting, I think...
As long as you can obligate the funds.
Dami mo na
Yes, sir.
Sige.
Obligate the
No,
funds.
very good. Ang ganda.
Yeah,
Ang ganda. When you go to, back to San Jose, Antique next,
You go to Antique.
can you look at the only remaining bahay na bato in San Jose? It's really run down, sayang, it's beautiful, but it still belongs to the private sector. If they're willing, just you go with Governor Sari. If they're willing to donate it to the province, then the province can move with NHCP so that we can maintain it. I'll provide the funds. It's the only remaining bahay na bato, beautiful, but no one lives there, nobody cares, and there's no, the family has no money, the province has no money. But if it can be donated to government, we will fund it. Then it can be an NHCP in Antique. Okay.
What about the Miagao Church? Is there any need there?
Miagao Church is under NCCA because this UNESCO declared.
Which agency would have...
NCCA po. NCCA. It's not under this jurisdiction.
Madam Chair. May tanong ko lang.
Yan ang Molo Church, paki-describe mo. Antagan sa dinig.
So what we are doing in Molo Church is that we are stabilizing the structural walls of this, and then we are removing the plants, yeah, and then we will be repairing also the existing windows of it, and then the last part of our restoration would be the ceiling painting. Yeah, finally we got the approval.
I think Iloilo would have more historical and iconic edifices than many cities, which is an old city. Marami dun. Of course, many are owned by the private sector, so we cannot tax it. But some are already in the state of disrepair. You know, the Lopez's can claim a number of old houses, but again, some are already not Lopez's in the sense that they belong to that clan. Some are, by marriage, but ang dami doon, that we cannot touch it. Nasisira na kasi private houses, we cannot touch it, no?
With the Presidential Car Museum. So our target is to finish it by early next year.
Presidential Car Museum?
Presidential Car Museum. The old car of the old president.
Yung Metropolitan Museum will be a car museum. That's why they're moving out.
Senator. Yeah. The construction is already ongoing.
Oh, so maybe the next will stay there na. Because that's what they said. Pinapaalis sila or...
Not pushed to...
So they will stay there. Ano sabi?
Yeah, it will be in Quezon Circle.
Luangas Church.
Madam Senator,
That's my hometown.
Ah, really?
That's where I was. That's where my family came from.
They miss you there. So, Luangas Church is where I come from. All the people from Luangas start with a D.
Yeah.
Doronila is from there. Yes, Doronila is from there.
Sige, mahaba pa tayo.
Sige, tuloy mo.
Okay. Let us now proceed to our budget for this year.
Sige. Okay, problema.
Okay. Yeah, Senator.
Yung Bartolome, please, it's in your, what do you call it, list of your national historical sites.
I see.
What do you call it? Historical site.
Historical sites.
Mark
Sites. Sayang eh. Narinig ko yung kay Maris 2 years ago, hindi niya nagawa.
And then, Madam Senator, let me just go back. Ipapa-aircon po natin yung anini.
I'm sorry?
Ipapa-aircon po natin yung anini. Aircon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. What you did in Molo, you can do in Anini.
Yeah. And last week, Madam, I wrote you a letter requesting that the church in Sorsogon,
I'm sorry?
the Barcelona Church.
You wrote me a letter? Okay, if it's at the Mark Church?
Yes, we
Then
will be
you-
marking it.
Sige.
I think NCCA
If you
also
need
have
it, if you think it's needed, then okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Tapos puntahan niyo yung bahay na bato, the only remaining, you assess it, and only
In San Jose,
Innocence,
Antique.
Governor Sally can accompany you.
Yeah, okay.
Kung pumayag yung may-ari na i-donate nila sa probinsya, we cannot help them. Basta pumayag lang sila.
Ma'am, last po yung provincial capital ng Antique.
Funded na yun,
Yes,
50 million.
yes.
No, the old provincial capital.
Because earlier you mentioned that I think we will be sharing it with the Film Development Council of the Philippines.
Ganito, whatever you deem fit, it's DPWH, and then, upon the ba na sa DPWH,
No. The design came from us. We gave it to DPWH,
I
and the
only
DPWH will execute it. Once they are done, we'll take care of the curatorial. Earlier you mentioned that we'll be sharing it with...
Okay, kung makakagulo pa, hindi na. Anyway, wala.
No. Hindi po makakagulo.
Hindi makakagulo.
Yeah.
Kasi, gusto ko lang magawa na ma-obligate, sayang. So, 2017 yun.
Yung problema lang namin, Madam, yung aming nakaabang na budget is for us, hindi namin naka-factor in yung film. I am not sure if they have their own fund.
Wala silang fund na 2018. So, wag na lang muna sila. Kaya ko naman, ang funds nila will be 2018. Pwede naman yun. Kasi interior lang naman sila eh.
Okay.
Kung makakagulo,
Meron din po kaming 2018 on top of that budget that you allocated for DPW.
I leave it to your better judgment.
Yeah, we just talked to
If it's
Chairman.
NHCP totally, I wanted sana a Hibla Textile Gallery. If applicable, I leave it to you.
Okay.
Kayo
Yeah,
experts.
yeah.
If the Cinematheque is not hindi bagay doon, we can always find another place for them.
Okay. So, we just talk with
Yes.
Chair Lisa and then the rest.
Ayoko lang maghinayang na hindi gumalaw.
Ay, hindi po. Gagalaw po ito.
Sige.
Madam, just question, Rene. When can you finish that core building?
Ang target po natin, di ba, Senator, is Dinagyang. Dinagyang.
Dinagyang. We can inaugurate it in Dinagyang.
Yes.
End of January.
End of January, 27 yata.
Okay.
Ma'am, is the idea to turn over the old capital to one of the agencies or for it to be retained by the provincial government?
What is ideal to you? How is the usual setup?
I'm sorry.
My question, Chair Rene, was
Is it to be turned over because it's the renovation is lodged in DPWH? It is probably owned. I'm not sure. Can you find out by the provincial government, is it going to be turned over? Baka MOA lang, baka they will not want to turn it over to the agency.
Yeah, normally MOA lang ito.
MOA,
Yeah,
okay.
MOA.
Then, is it possible that you work together in one structure? You do that? I want them in there as well, even a wing for textile gallery and Kinaray culture, whatever.
Doable, madam, because the bill is big.
Yes, whatever documents you have, artworks on Kinaray there is no Kinaray cultural center. There's no Kinaray gallery, right? Wala. Paintings, sculpture, artworks, and I'm sure meron tayo.
Yeah. Opo. Yeah.
Okay, sige. Yung Cinematheque, wala naman silang pondo, wag na lang, ibang lugar na lang kung makakagulo pa. Kung malaki yung lugar at may kwarto for Cinematheque, so mas diba 3 government agencies in one.
I will have to at least how much space does it need.
Na-ocular na rin nila.
Di po ma'am, kung ilang square meters ang kailangan nila.
Oo, na-ocular na nga nila, meron na silang ideya.
Okay.
Okay, sige. Next. So, yung mga wala sa budget nyo na binanggit ko ngayon, ilagay na lang nyo, i-summarize nyo as your amendments for the budget. Addendum, yeah. Okay na, sige na. Okay na yan. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yung Bartolome, check nyo. NM, we go to National Museum, please. When are you inaugurating the biodiversity, natural history museum?
We'll have the soft opening, ma'am, on September 30. Yes, of course.
Whether we go or not.
Yes.
Let's continue our... you were supposed to do the textile. Remember, we had funds for traveling exhibit.
Yes.
Hindi natuloy. Instead, you used it, you realigned it, used it for Hibla galleries in the national museums in the provinces.
Yes, in
you
vegan.
recently launched vegan. I could not make it, but you have in Iloilo.
Yes, it's part of Iloilo and
Zamboanga and Butuan.
And
And Butuan. Okay, memoriado. So that's done. Sige.
The last 3 are not done, but it's an ongoing project because all 3 of those museums are going to be completely overhauled. So that's part of the new exhibit.
And are you continuing with your lecture series?
Yes, absolutely. We're still downloading from your fund.
Oo. Meron pa yun.
Yeah, for demonstrations and lectures. Yeah.
For, please, how often is it? Parang hindi madalas. Is it once a month? Once every quarter lang yata ang kaya nyo?
I think the next burst would be for October, Museums and Galleries Month, and November, Indigenous Peoples Month.
Oh, sige.
Yeah.
Now, all of these materials, we have guest lecturers from the provinces, sometimes from abroad. They give materials, they give lectures. Are we documenting it so that we can have a catalog of all their speeches?
Yeah, all of the lectures are videoed, as you may have noticed. And yeah, full documentation because it's our anthropologists who you've come to know
Yes.
who take care of all of that, and they're quite rigorous.
Can we have a catalog? Because we have the catalog of the Hibla ng Lahing Filipino.
Yes, ma'am.
But we don't have a catalog of the,
Basket,
not just basket, of all the lecture series from the beginning of 3 or 4 years ago. I think I funded that.
Yes.
Maybe Dr. Anna would know the status.
Sure. All right, we'll give you a report right away on that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Proceed.
You were asking the other agencies to relay their concerns. We're very happy with our net for next year. We don't really have any concerns. Our budget has decreased significantly because most of the capital outlay. But our operating budget, PS and MOE have, MOE is same as last year, which is fine because we underspent last year. And the PS has increased, so yeah, we're quite...
Ito napakahalaga. You have to activate, please, Cherry, tulungan mo natin. You have the mandate to investigate, apprehend fake art. It's not being done. National artists are being copied, are being faked. You have to help me with this, Frank. I need a lawyer. Fake art. So much fake art. Syndicates. Syndicates duplicating, replicating the works of national artists and even not national artists and selling them as real when they are fake, fooling collectors and non-collectors but people who can buy. And I actually know who are doing it. I've mentioned that. Sinusumbong sa akin, BenCab called me, some collectors have called me, we know who they are, and the mandate is in your...
One of them is in Green Hills.
I don't know. Sino yun?
I know.
Erwin, can you just go straight to slide 14?
What is the unit under you that is in charge of monitoring and apprehending all the perpetrators of fake art?
That comes under our Cultural Properties Regulation Division. Angel Bautista.
Well, BenCab, he's just so frustrated that his works are being copied and sold as... I'll say it now. My doctor, Dr. Diana Kua, was sold a fake BenCab by the millions. I don't know if she'll allow me to say it, I said it already. And she was so frustrated. Sabi niya, Senator, what can we do about this? She checked with BenCab. It's not his. She went back to the seller and they said, I thought it was real. There was even an authentication. Yeah. And they traced who it came from. She confronted the person who lives in Rockwell, and they said, we thought it was real. What do you do?
Well, ma'am, please by all means advise your friend to write us a complaint, and we'll work with them to...
Sumulat sa National Museum.
We hear lots of anecdotes, just like what you've relayed, ma'am. But when we ask them to submit written...
Takot sila eh.
Yes.
Sindikato eh.
Yeah.
Syndicate.
So there's rarely any legally actionable material that we can act on.
This is even ask your researchers to look. It's been on the front page of her broadsheets for many, many years. Thelmason, one of Inquirer, has been writing about it. It's been coming out on the front page. It's been discussed here in every budget hearing. No one is apprehended. It's really, what's the right word for that? Hindi lang insulto eh, sa ating kultura eh. Hindi pagnanakaw. It's intellectual theft. At saka panluloko sa mga kolektor.
It's very hard for us to act without
Oh,
legal.
I even funded it. I have a 5 million funding for the Cultural Properties Protection Anti-Forgery Unit.
Yes, for
In the 2016 budget, which is carried over for this year.
Yes, ma'am.
Oo.
That
Because
is,
they said at the time, wala daw silang kapasidad, so I gave them the capital outlay for equipment.
Yes, and I have the list here, and that has been procured already. So we do have the equipment to...
Tell Angel to be more aggressive. Hindi naman kailangan kami ang nagre-report. That's their job to know.
Yes, ma'am. In this area, I admit and concede that nothing much has happened. But Angel's group are very effective in other illegal activities such as illegal treasure hunting, archaeological...
They're not effective in illegal activities, in coding.
In apprehending.
In apprehending, okay, yes.
So it's in this one area of allegedly forged artworks that we are having difficulties
Sige, let's test it. I'll
advancing
ask the doctor if she's willing to file that case because it's been proven it's a fake BenCab. And I talked to Ben about it. He said, what do we do? Senator, ikaw nang bahala. Ang ganyan.
Yeah.
Frustrated. Nakakaawa naman sila.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know, sometimes, I'm not sure, pero sabi nila, artist din ang gumagawa.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Artist din, di ba? Alam ni Cherry, bubulong ko sa'yo kung sino. Mamaya. Kasi, mahirap mag-akusa, baka yun din.
Yeah.
Mahirap mag-akusa, pero yun ang sinabi ni Ben sa akin, kung sinong gumagawa, makilala din niya na artist ang nag-fake sa kanyang art.
Yeah, we continuously remind people to patronize galleries and dealers who are registered with the National Museum under, the prevailing legal framework, and to of course be very, very careful in examining the provenance of these works.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think since you don't have any problem with your budget, you just continue the good work that you've been doing.
Well, thank you very much,
And
ma'am.
that it's a very good move. You finally acceded to my request to make it for free. Remember before, naniningil kasi kung hindi naman, we'll provide you na lang the budget, hindi ko kailangan maningil. So since libre na kayo, pinupuntahan na kayo, di ba?
Yes.
Are you free all over the country?
All
You
over the
should be.
country,
Okay.
yes.
And let's continue the lecture series. And let's just do a documentation of that. Video and print form.
That's why-
Publication. Publication.
That's the main reason why we're quite happy to not have too many capital outlay projects next year, so that we can focus on our
On the content.
yes, and
Yes.
our programs and activities. Yeah.
And can we please, can you meet with the cultural diplomacy of the DFA? I keep on telling them, ASEAN, APEC, ako pang nagsasabi, ako pang taga-schedule. Like for example, APEC, it was not even in the schedule. They have Ayala Museum but not National Museum. And I said, bakit ganyan? So ako pang nagsabi kay First Lady Akira Abe to go to National Museum. She said it was not in the schedule. And I scheduled it with you and Dr. Wang. She was so happy. Then they write me after that. Aung San Suu Kyi, when she was here, she wanted to go, but she had no time. So DFA is not prioritizing National Museum in their list, and lapit-lapit lang puntahan.
Yes, ma'am. That was our experience indeed with APEC, but it was much. We had a much.
In ASEAN,
close,
yes.
yes.
Because kinukulit ko na sa, can you please ask your staff in charge for outreach, for communications, and intergovernmental convergence to tell DFA, and maybe always tell them of your activities.
Yes,
And then for ASEAN, especially now, last quarter na naman, now there are ministerial meetings. Palaging isama sa schedule ng National Museum. Both fine arts and anthropology.
We're expecting to be quite busy, not only in Manila but in other places during October, November, in the lead up to the summit. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But
So what I do is, and you know that, and thank you for your support, ako na ang nagdadala ng tao doon. Remember when I had my birthday there, then ambassadors, I bring them there, I hold events there, or I do it myself para rin magka-awareness. Then they say, we didn't realize, ganito pa, ganda pala ng National Museum. It has improved, it's so different, ganun, they don't know eh. Oo. Importante lang. So, kailangan ang gobyerno magtulungan lahat ng ahensya, basta may bisita, National Museum.
yes, thank you.
Pinagastusan ng gobyerno eh, at saka ang ganda-ganda eh. Yeah. And you know that, I walk in on Sundays with no announcement. I walk in. And I do my shoots there for Dayaw. So there's, yan ang aking studio. And it's always there. The venue's National Museum. So whenever they see the show, which is replayed many times, they see, ang ganda pala ng National Museum. Hindi maganda yung host. Maganda yung background na nakikita nila. Oo, sa Bangsamoro Gallery, sa iba-ibang
We do what we can to bring in new groups, new audiences. We just hosted KWF's international conference
nice.
and many other things.
Sure, whenever I go there, maraming
CCP's
tao. So that's
Pasamara.
very good. That's very good. Okay.
Thank you.
So you have no problem. NCCA. Yung ating likhain, I remember I provided a budget. Again, ako palagi collaboration between NCCA and the Intramuros administration, because whenever we have events, there are bazaars, there are fairs, there are all these pop-ups, but there's never a permanent site. And we have our lecture series, and then we bring in the weavers and the artisans and the basket makers, but there's never a permanent site for the weavers, and where the Manileños and tourists can actually go at reasonable prices. There is Tesoros and Balikbayan Handicap and Kultura, but the rates are 3-4 times more. So we created Likhaan. The venue, I asked at the time, it was Sardilio, the head of IA, to give NTCA free space, and they actually converted to the funds that I provided the aquarium in Puerto Real to be the Likhaan area to be managed by NTCA. I left it to the better judgment of NTCA how to go about it in your MOA, but I hope that that's moving. It's Ichu who knows that, yes.
Yeah, actually, we are targeting the launching of the Likhaan this October in line with the Indigenous Peoples
very
Month.
good.
Yeah, so right now we are already doing the finishing. We did a partnership between NCCA and the Escuela Taller and also the Intramuros
Nice.
Station.
Oh, that's what I mean convergence. So it's the IA grounds, the funding, I lodged the funding in IA or NCCA?
The infra with
Infra
IA,
is IA.
the soft programs with
And then
NCCA.
the curatorial and the exhibits as well as sub program, because I wanted our lecture series in National Museum to be made permanent all year round in the Likhaan in Intramuros, to be run by NTCA. So there will be year-long exhibits changing, revolving
services, and there will be goods for sale without government owning anything. So there will be a permanent venue for IPs and other artisans to ano, tama, Ichu, ganun ang gawa natin.
Window for the exposure of the products of our
Yes.
for living tradition.
Yes, it will be also a permanent venue for the SLTs. So that's what I mean sa ating collaboration. In fact, you should invite the FIDA under DA, they should have been here pala, as well as the PTRI or the DOST to also be part of that, and the Design Center. Next time, I should carve out those agencies to be here in the national agencies, fiber and textile, and Design Center. Okay. Patingin nga, ayun, puti-puti, hindi ice cream. Sige.
We follow po the color that so it is now we are already bidding the aircon for this, and finalizing the final design for the exhibit. So hopefully it will really be launched by October. And we are also thinking that the Likhaan will be the ILT, or the Institute for Living Tradition, in the Metro Manila.
Very good. The Institute of Living Tradition, I tried to enact it by law. I filed the bill, no? And it is subsumed under the proposed Department of Culture. So I'm institutionalizing the Institute of Living Tradition under the Department of Culture. Okay. So I hope this is a permanent space. After my term in June 30, 2019, I hope they don't, tama na yan, kay Lauren lang yan, wag tatanggalin. No, it's really, it's a collaborative effort of all our brains and our passion put together. Chair June, Chair Rio, NCCA, panahon nila Marco, all of us, NM, I consulted all of you in doing this. So I really hope that this is continued even long after my time, because it's a permanent venue for our schools of living tradition, where people can actually buy their crafts at costs which are affordable.
About ILT, aside from the one in Intramuros, we are also already having dialogues, because we are planning to have one in Antique. So when we go there,
ILT, kasama ka na pagpunta nila, ano,
With
yan,
the
field trip. Kasama NHCP, si Dr. Rene, sila Director Badoy, tapos sila Ino, at si Director Cesar, yan, field trip kayo. Titas,
then one also in,
like, ang ganda sa launching yan, we can have,
Poetry reading.
exactly, ang ganda ng ground, you've been there, Puerto Real. Ang katabi ng Likhaan, the aquarium, is a big, big lawn where it used to be the Puerto Real evenings. In fact, I want to revive the Puerto Real evenings under the IA budget. When I hear the IA budget, I'm going to put an amendment. I want to revive the Paco Park Presents and the Puerto Real. So sa Paco Park budget under the NPDC DOT budget and the Puerto Real evenings, revive it. Wala nang kailangan, no-brainer yan to reinvent it. It's just the way it was before. Let's reinvent it. If you agree. Although it's not under you, pero magandang buhayin, di ba? Kasi pag meron tayong Puerto Real evenings, tapos nandiyan yung Likhaan, then we can have poetry reading, make it weekly. Ang ganda. Then PTV4 and Salam TV, the government networks, can cover it every time. Then you can upload it online in social media. Right? Then we can watch the Puerto Real evenings and the Paco Park Presents. I remember that because, again, when I was very, very young, I covered Paco Park Presents, I think, in the 80s or 70s. Namatay eh. Sayang, hindi sinusuportahan. But I will fund it for 2018 so that both Paco Park and Puerto Real. I'm only mentioning that even if it's not NCCA, because as chair of NCCA, even if it's not directly under you, Chair Rio, may I request you to help me with DOT. And I will let Sakti know na makikialam ka because you know culture, because you were here. No, I'm not saying they don't know. I'm sure they know. And so that what we discussed today, because DOT is not here, although I will also hear their budget, and make sure that I mention that. I'm sorry? Yes. I'm sure Sunny will agree. Senator Angara is my vice chair for the DOT budget, and IA is an attached agency. Yan. Yes. They will allow you, I'm sure.
I have to attend the DOT hearing, but whether I attend or not, we'll make that the amendment, the Puerto Real and the, then we will have poetry reading there. The poetry reading sessions can be a project of the Commission on Filipino Languages. You put that please in your budget, but the venue you choose. You may want to put it in Casa Manila, you may want to put it in Puerto Real. Maganda magkatabi sa likhaan para yung mga bibili ng tela at ng basket, makukunig na rin. Yung may pupuntahan, di ba, sa Maynila para mabuhay ang IA. Ganun. Okay. Bakit puro ako? Huwag naman ganyan. Kakahiya. Ito, I have to put it on record, Chair Rio, and all of those here. Natutuwa ako sa NCCA because they gave me a presentation a few weeks back. They really know how to micromanage the funds that we give them. And when I talk to communities, they tell me, nabigyan na po kami 45,000 worth of threads, of looms. They're like, so, no, ibig sabihin, and then I actually give them the list of people I meet I've met all these years, and then they vote it kung sino ang pwede. But this is not post-enactment, this is pre-enactment. I mean, all through the so then you vote it. Tapos narinig ko sa mga tao. So we feel government's presence. And of all agencies, yung miniting ko kayo noon, di ba? Ito sa whole voting. Compared to the other, to Philfida and PTRI, which yung ulo ko, pero ang NCCA, ang ganda-gandang, nakikita kong may passion at mga micromanage nila yung pagbaba ng pondo sa mga komunidad. I'm not saying that the other agencies walang puso, pero I was just happier with your presentation. So anyway, isang batang kasama mo noon.
Si Rene po.
Si Rene, yung isa pa yung babae.
Si Aling po.
Yun, magaling yung batang yun. Wala na? Sa inyo?
Andyan po.
Yung tatlo kayo noon, di ba?
Opo. Si Bernan po.
Ha?
Kami ni Bernan.
Yun. Bernard. Bernan. In fact, kayo ang pupunta
sa Lao.
Kasi there's funding in PTRI which is expiring this year to look at natural dye centers and weaving centers, not government, private, small, micro-enterprise SLPs, pero maganda. I'm supposed to go, but I've been there many times. And dagsaan ng turista. So you have to go to Luang Prabang to see. It's Intramuros can be made into a Luang Prabang area, Ermita Malate. You've seen it last year, yes. It's beautiful, simple, beautiful. How preservation and conservation, as well as micro-enterprises, and commerce, yeah. So, you go, maybe I should send one staff, pero hindi, busy kami sa budget, kayo na lang. Then you just video and take notes and take pictures and do your report. And all I'm saying is that let's replicate what Laos is doing. I've been telling PTRI this for many years. Hindi nila magets. In fact, I already put it in their budget. Nagbiyahe na sila sa Bangkok, sa Chiang Rai, Chang. Hindi pa rin ginagawa ang gusto kong gawin. I think if NCA goes, you'll know what to do. And believe me, I will put the funding under your agency to do it next year.
Actually,
give me a Luang Prabang in Intramuros.
Okay.
I will take charge of and meet with the Septio and the Intramuros head or wherever you want. Give me a Luang Prabang. Type.
Yeah, that's why we are meeting already someone from Antique because one of our original plan to pilot is to do it with Antique during the dialogue with the governor.
It could also be in Antique, but we could also do it since meron na kayong likhaan dyan and Intramuros is there, you can also do that. Of course, that's not your property. Ang pinahiram lang sa akin, yung likhaan.
Yes, we can continue doing that in Intramuros because when we talk to Attorney Asido, what he was saying is if NCCA can help, especially for mga mothers at saka mga women in the informal settlers within Intramuros, na walang ginagawa, if we can give
generate livelihood.
activities
So you can continue what you're doing in Antique, then let's do it with Likhaan, and let's make it a project of CFL to have the poetry reading in Puerto Real, along with the budget for the Puerto Real evenings for music. So with music, with poetry reading, and we have an artisans center in Likhaan. Okay. And if you could replicate on a smaller scale what the National Museum is doing for the lecture series, we can have interactive lecture series in Likaan.
Okay, ma'am, we are organizing now a series of lectures on the folk epics of the Philippines. So most probably we can do it in Tilikaan.
Kaysa sa NTCA building, mahirap puntahan. Pag public place yung Likhaan. Then I can even talk to IA kung maliit yung lugar to give other venues.
Maganda sana yung sa National Museum.
National Museum, of course. Yeah,
Ang
yung
problema
ating...
namin sa National Museum, yung sound system sa Senate Hall. Kailangan...
kasi nagbabounce.
Nagbabounce.
Kasi marble eh. Oo. No, you use the reception hall.
They're procuring a better sound.
Ayan, no.
Oo. Sige. So whether it's National Museum or sa Intramuros, kung saan kayo mag-desisyon. Ganda.
Aside from the Likhaan that is here in Intramuros, we have also our schools for living tradition all over the country.
Yung documentation ng ating SLTs, ilan pa talaga ang ating SLT all over the country?
When we started kasi the program for the schools for living tradition, it was really more of a soft program that is not housed in any particular place.
No, we know that. But how many known SLTs do we have, Cherio?
Well, in my own county,
Oo. I would believe a national artist.
around 20 active.
Hindi lang. Marami.
20. Yun
Ilan?
ang talagang active.
20 lang bang SLT?
Maraming SLTs.
Oo.
But,
Ilan ang ating documented SLT sa...
kasi what we are trying to do now is merge the SLT idea with the DepEd IP so that the SLT can also serve as an educational site for the IP children. So,
More than 20? Ilan?
Since we started in 1998, we already have around 436 communities who are recipient of the School for Living Tradition training.
Naka-document ba ito?
Opo, ma'am. Ang sinasabi
Sa NCCA?
Sa NCCA. Ang sinasabi po ni Chair is the current SLT that has already structures. So, because of the funding that we inputted last year, we were able to identify certain communities and provide them already with the structure.
SLTs? Ang dami. Iba-ibang numero naman. Meron kaming 600, may 400, may 20. Ano kaya? Oo. Oo. Okay. Paano, can NCCA document all these SLTs? Hirap. But you're doing it. So when we give them assistance, we do documentation at the same time. Video, audio, photo, print, and notes, research. Dapat ganun, para sulit ang punta, hindi lang, ano kailangan nyo, thread, ayan, loom, ayan, cotton, ayan, hindi lang pera, Please, photo, the history of the family, the weaver, the lady, the community, parang cultural mapping, research-based. Do we do that? We should do that. When we give assistance, we should know the background, not just of the person, but the community, the family, the social-cultural environment in which that person thrives, the person who is exercising the living tradition. Let's do that, please. If it's not being done, let's start to do it. But all your documentation in audio, video, print, dapat may soft and hard copy. Naka-hard drive dapat yan. Oo. So yung hard copies, dapat ang mga yung mga digicopies nyo, naka-hard drive. Dapat naka-document yan, naka-hard drive yan. Document, naka-archive. Hindi. Naku! So, how is it? What is it? In Betamax? In CDs? No, I'll give you the budget. Yun to. Lahat ng naka-CD sa inyo, ilagay ko sa dagdag na budget ninyo. Kung kulang ang budget, kung meron naman, hindi silang dagdagan. I-digitize nyo lahat ng naka-CD. Digitize.
this,
Yes,
madam,
please.
to our project sa KWF, we also have a project to research on the 130 languages.
Yes, di ba we have our language markers?
Yes, we are having the markers. At the same time now, what you'd like to do is really organize a kind of documentation of all these languages.
For how many years I've been sitting here, I've always been, when you were still chair, talking about documentation of all the Filipino languages. I thought we were doing it. Remember, you even told me there's a language in this island in Samar or Leyte?
But bigger budget, we are doing it the cheaper way. Knowing the language, getting some research about it.
What is the fastest way to document our languages?
The things we did during the last 3 years. That's why we were able to produce.
Yes, when you say your chair, I provided you the funding. We will continue. So
what we would like to do is that every language should be treated as a complete research material. And so, we have to know the history of the language, meaning the people.
You're culturally mapping the language. Good. Is it part of your 2018 programs? Are you doing it in 2017?
We are planning to pilot it in 2018.
Why pilot? It will die. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yes. You prioritize the languages? Of course. I think I provided that in the past years. Ha? Ilan?
3 million lang yung aming pilot eh.
Saan yung pilot nyo? Anong lugar?
Well, Bataan and Mindoro.
Can you include Kinaraya sa Antique? Increase your pilot. Increase your pilot to put your wish list. In terms, that's your turf. You're the expert there. Both of you, please include the wish list according to priority from the 3 million increase it for the next 2 years. Phases. What's for 2018? What's for 2019? That's all I can promise because that's all the only time I'm going to be here. So, let's do it. Stop thinking pilot. Let's do all the important languages, especially those which are already dying.
Yun nga ang inuuna namin kaya Mindoro at saka Bataan, Diagta at saka Dimangyan. Kasi there is a group of Mangyans in Mindoro na separated from the rest of the Mangyans. Yun ang
Iraya Mangyan?
Hindi ko kabisado yung pangalan, but Ratagnon. Talaga hindi sila kilala. At wala nag-aalaga sa kanila. Kaya yun ang pupuntahan natin.
Dapat po yung 3 milyon, gawin natin 30 milyon.
Okay.
Basta meron kayong capacity gamitin. Baka walang tao naman na magre-research.
Madali yan, madali.
Sige. So, yung pilot, damihan po nyo yung areas, make every region represented. Could I request please to do Kinaraya? I don't speak the language. What is Governor Sally Perez? Can you go to the microphone and speak Kinaraya? Just say anything, please. Yeah, sige na, here, microphone. Sige. Just the language. Just greet,
Mayad nga hapon kaninyo nga tanan.
kaya ko yun, kung yan lang.
Mayad nga adlaw. Ha?
Parang iba. Hindi, mayad yung aga kami. Alam ko rin yan, yung mahirap.
Yung mga mayad, oo.
Sige. Sabihin mo, you just say, it's been a very enlightening 4 hours. You know, I don't sit like this in other agencies, ha? May DOJ pa ako ng 2 o'clock.
Si Senator wala.
No, speaking Kinaraya, please.
Hindi naga-meeting ka amudya kahaba. Haba 4 hours nga lang, no? So, salamat sa inyo pagpamati. Kakadlaw si Ino because he understands, no? Salamat gid sa inyo nga kooperasyon, sa inyo pagpamati. Kagkabay pa nga tawag
Espanyol.
Hindi, no. May halo dok, hindi ba? Tawaan ka mo ni Senator kang inyong ginapangayo. Ayan, you understood that? Sige.
Thank you, Governor Sally Perez. Yeah.
Jeremy,
No, I was asking.
can we have a Kinarea exhibit?
Absolutely.
Sige no, a Kinarea exhibit.
I'm so fascinated by this.
Yes, Kinarea cultural exhibit. Si Dr. Alicia Magos can curate it with Anna. Magos can curate it with Anna. Because UP Visayas, we have experts in Kinarea. I don't know, manuscripts, artwork, if they're books, paintings, sculptures, I don't know, the language, if they're audio tapes, proponents, may material ba tayo?
Doon sa Antique, yung State University.
Oh, sa Antique, University of Antique. Oh, so pagpunta, so lahat ito pupunta next week. Lahat kayo mag-meeting doon. Lahat. Hindi.
We are going there tomorrow.
Really? With Junyi?
No.
A board meeting.
We are
sige.
going to have our board meeting.
Okay. Sige. So, karagdagan din sa National Museum, magbilin, Kinarea exhibit in the Museum of Anthropology.
And our Iloilo Western Visayas Regional Museum.
Yes.
Eventually.
Yes, correct. Okay.
Ma'am, I
Yes.
was just conferring with Chair Mario. Perhaps you'd appreciate an update from the LEDAC meeting regarding Department of Culture bill. So we were there and grouped together with two other 8 proposing agencies, the Department of Housing and the Philippine Space Agency. Basically, the outcome of LEDAC was to, well, at this point anyway, to prioritize daw nila yung right-sizing bill. Because under, yeah. So,
Are you sponsoring it, ma'am?
gusto nila na
The budget, I'm doing the budget reform and I'm doing the right sizing also. Lahat nandun na.
So I don't know what your stand would be on that if we still push the Senate bill.
We still push it, but because the right sizing has many challenges, not many senators agree. So it's easier to push the Department of Culture putting you under one umbrella than the right sizing. Ang dami pa mag-interpolate, mas ahead kung Department of Culture create na natin.
And if we do have it go through all the interpolations, I'm sure the bill would benefit strongly.
Yes. So I would rather that we proceed with the Department of Culture because I'm busy with the budget until October, November. So I cannot focus on the right sizing. And right sizing, we delegate to the executive, DBM, and ESOP the right sizing. How would I know how they will do Department of Culture the way I think it should be? Rather than if it's in my turf, in the Senate.
Yes.
Then I can interpolate, then I can amend it the way we want it to be,
Yes,
right?
yes.
If you delegate it to a body that will right-size a bureaucracy and collapse this and put this, how do we know it's going to be how we think it should be?
Yes, exactly.
So I'd rather push the Department of Culture.
Right. Copy that, Bob. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I still have 2 o'clock DOJ. So, you have 20 million, right? Are you able to spend it all? SLPs, meron ba tayo nun? Nagastos na niyo lahat? Hindi pa po. Until December. Kaya niyong gastusin lahat? Kaya po. Nabigyan na ba yung mga nasalanta ng bagyong Pablo dun sa Davao Oriental? Napakatagal ko na sinabi yun. Opo. Oo, nabigyan na yun.
Nabigyan na po yan.
Lahat naman itong binibigyan mga SLP, no?
IP groups.
IP
Indigenous groups po.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Doon sa aming budget sa Commission sa Wika, we have an additional 200 million. I talked with the DBM, with Secretary Jokno, and he said he's willing to give us 200 million for
200 for?
For our own building. I'm sorry? For our own building.
Building?
Yes.
Where is it? Where?
In UP.
Are you moving from Malacanang to UP? Oh, good. Is it already in your NEP?
We included it now there.
It's already there.
Sa 2018. Wala pa sa NEP. Wala pa sa NEP.
Hindi linagay. Pumayag si Jokno pero hindi niya linagay.
Nito ko lang sa kinausap.
So you're moving and you already have the land?
Yes, the President promised to give us 1,500 square meters.
It will be a newly, building ni Ino. Building ninyo.
Actually, mainam nga doon sa pumunta eh.
Ayun, pag-usapan nga ninyo yun. O sige.
Ayaw niya sa UP eh.
Kami kong pangako eh. Kasi, paano ba ito? Perfect ito. Ayoko mangako, hindi ko kaya. Kung pumayag ang DBM, dapat linigay nila sa net nila para hindi ako mahirapan. Kasi remember the pie doesn't grow. If everyone asks increase, it's still, I will take it out from somewhere. And in the meantime, I have to look for 50 billion for the free college education. So I cannot say yes. What we can do is, ilagay na lang ng DBM sa 2019 net. So magtiis na kayo ng 1 year dyan, and then sa 2019 net, nandun na yung building nyo.
Inaalis na kami, ma'am, sa kon eh. Sa Watson.
No, cannot.
Hanap ng lupa eh. Oo.
Diba? Ang hirap mangako, no? 200 million.
Ma'am, pwede bang...
Okay, I can put it in unprogrammed funds. Pag na-meet yung budget, then the revenue targets, then it can be tapped. Sige.
Salamat po. Salamat, okay.
Ma'am, pwede rin yung purchase ng post office building? If you wanted to bring that up with Philippine Postal Corporation.
1.5 billion sa ko hanapin.
But it's from one pocket to the other, ma'am. It's going to be, yeah. They will be using that for their own corporate purposes in QC.
DOTR budget. That's under me, no? Sige. Just remind me, please. DOT, yung sinabi ko kanina sa IA, tapos DOTR budget, make sure feel posted, whoever the person is.
Because under your DOT bill, ma'am, we're appropriating the post office building to the new department, but it will still take a payment of money to the GOCC. Yeah.
Ma'am, one more, ma'am. If you can help us. I'm using a 10-year vehicle. I hope I would be given a new vehicle for...
Hindi lang kayo, ako rin yung Fortuner ko 10 years na. 207 ko binila nung kampanya ko. Yun pa rin sasakyan ko.
This is used by everybody, ma'am.
No. Yeah, vehicle for the NHCP.
NHCP, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am.
2 vehicles for NHCP. Cherry, yung sa inyo, lagay ko sa program. Hindi linigay sa NEP eh. Tapos, kung hindi masama sa, hindi, for some reason, kung hindi matap sa program ng 2018, lagay nyo sa NEP ng 2019. Hindi niya linagay eh. Dapat nakalagay niya. Pero ganito, kung maluwag at makakahanap ako, syempre, bakit ko hindi ibibigay? Ayoko lang mangako na hindi ko kaya. Sige na. Okay na. Ito, request. Everything that we're discussing now, may I request the agencies to make it part of your annual budget so that next year, I don't have to say, oh, bakit wala ito? It's always Senator Legarda's amendments. Look at, if you agree with what we are doing, and I think you agree, because we really, like all the amendments of my colleagues to bring the outreach program, CCP, lecture series to continue, the funding of SLTs, the documentation of our languages, everything, make it part of your program and of your annual budget. So that even long after I'm gone, here, nakikita ng susunod na chair, ay, every year may funding to. Tatanggapin nila. No, kasi kung one time lang, tapos puro amendment pakita, dagdag lang yan ng dating senador, si Legarda, hilig sa culture, hindi mo mahalaga yan. Yung malay mo, di ba? I'm not saying hindi mahalagang culture, but thinking ng iba, in the future, unless kayo ang magpasok yun sa NEP, it's an agency project. Only if you agree with what I'm doing with your budgets, which is actually good. I mean, so even the convergence between IA and NCCA and CFL, etc. Yeah. If we could just institutionalize all the amendments we are discussing, that would be good. Chirio, your term is expiring 2019. I'm retiring in 2019. But I'm sure the other senators, ihahabiling ko lahat. Imimemo ko lahat ng maiiwanan ko sa mga bagong senador na nakaupo, ipagpatuloy nyo. Like the Venice Biennale. Let it not be an amendment. Is it an amendment again? Is it already in the NEP? Very good ang NTCA.
Actually, all the amendments we had last year.
Naging NEP na?
Yes.
At hindi tinanggal? Very good.
At may konti pero ngayon nasa. Pero charge to NEFCA po siya.
Baka sa NEFCA, we just get their commitment.
What is this? The NTCA amendments for 2017.
Was not carried to your 2018 NEP.
Why?
Wala.
Who took it out?
Wala, hindi sinama ng DBM.
Aba!
Pero ito ma'am, kasi...
Ba't sabi ni Mina? So it's going to be charged to your NEFCA, the 165.28, correct? Okay. What?
Ma'am, we included it in the budget, but it was brought down to be charged in the NEFCA, not in the GAA po.
Okay.
Which also requires DBM approval.
Actually, it requires, doesn't matter where it is, NEFCA, except that
Never mind.
what if in the future I'm not here, you're no longer all here, and the chair of NCCA does not like the NEFCA to be used. So it should be institutionalized in the NEP from DBM. They should agree. And Secretary Jokno agrees because he understands and appreciates culture.
Yes.
Yun lang. Yes. Very tired, but it was, I think, very, very... Matuto kang magmasid, sambit ni Lolo, sa akin habang nakatitig sa bahay na binabalangkas. Does it sound familiar? Batid niya ang uri ng haspe sa sari-saring tungkulin gaya ng tao na kaniyang inuutusang magbaon ng isang pulgadang pako sa plywood o lawanit. Di ba sa inyo to? Yes. Yeah, this is Roberto Año. Ang pagsasalin. Ha? Alam mo naman ako, ang ending, wala akong lakas ng loob para sabihin sa kaniyang, Lolo, iba ka. Iba ang papel mo sa papel ng inyong apo. That's how we end our hearing. By Roberto Año. Bakit kayo, nung nagbabasa ako, they were just staring, you didn't know where it was from. Only he knew it was his. Why were you not smiling? Did I read it wrong? Right? Oh, I cannot read the whole thing. It will take another 5 minutes. So that's how we end. I wish it would not end because this is my favorite budget hearing.
Pahabol ma'am. Yung ating poetry reading starting September.
Poetry reading. Okay. Poetry reading. What next year? This year? This in the Senate. Yes, this week. Dapat yung ginawa natin ng Agosto eh.
Sige.
So post,
Meron
gawa ng
kasi series na ang tawag namin Tertulia.
Tertulia.
Tertulia sa Senado. Okay.
Ay, ganda.
Ayan, Tertulia sa Senado.
Teka, yung aking husing batute was Tertulia in Casa Manila.
Okay.
1984.
Sige.
Sino kaya nagpasimuno na? Baka ikaw. At Jimmy Laya pala nun. Jimmy Laya nun. I was the poetry reader. I was a young journalist and pinabasa niya ako. So,
To read a poem this September.
Sino?
Hindi ko alam.
Kami.
Pinili pa kami.
Magbabasa ako.
Sige.
Lahat ng senador, hindi kayo natin magbasa. So, bubuhayin natin ang tertulia sa Senado. And can we have, apart from our lecture series, can we have maybe quartet or even biannually poetry reading in National Museum? Ganda. Oo. Tapos sa likhaan, ilagay mo ha, sa Intramuros, kailangan may poetry reading. Nasa museum. Hindi ba? Indigenous music. Yes, ay, Ramon Santos. Jose Maceda. Di ba? Florida, from Lani Maestro? Nasaan? Ha? There's also referral event. Centennial na. May ano ba na wala si CCP. Nawala si CCP. Meron silang referral event being curated by Jimmy and Lani Maestro. In CCP, this year. Hindi ko na itanong. Okay? Director Cesar, taga-Davao ka, first time sa Senado, first time ka nag-attend ng budget hearing. Masaya o hindi?
Masaya po kasi nandito ka.
Mama ka yata sa Pangulo mo. Ganyan ba ang lahat ng mga taga-Davao? At mga taga-Holy Land ba ay ganyan?
15 years po kasi kami nagsama ng Pangulo sa city government.
Kaya nagmana ka sa kanyang mga pananalita.
Apo.
Sige. Okay, natuto ka ba?
Marami po akong natutunan.
Very good. Okay. So you do your outreach, just like archives. So I really appreciate the presence of everyone here. I want to nagtsaga kayo sa akin dahil sa inyo, para sa inyo ito. But I really learned from you and I hope that all the projects and more, because there's not enough time for our discussion, will really be implemented within the year. And with your funds pala, hindi ko na tinignan yung inyong saot, the remaining balance for this year, but spend it until December because we have a 12-month cycle. And if you knew, if between now and our budget, our time of amendment, you think of something new which I can afford, we will increase as long as you can implement it. Okay? Thank you very much. Your budgets are approved pending the additional requests that I said yes to and the